Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
Their
racing roots.
sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts.
Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm. I feel like I'm losing my voice this evening, even though I haven't even been talking much today. But anyway, we're streaming live here on 92.9 FM 550 AM WAME radio and on DHammiam on YouTube, as well as Facebook and Twitter and all the other major platforms, because we got, we're kind of a big deal this evening because we got Matthew Dillner. Hey, I just made that up just like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of big because you have a big guy on.
Yeah, well, that's part of it.
You've doubled the size of your staff.
Big deal. You're the big deal.
The big deal.
Yes. Well, they have those shirts. Like, I actually have a placard. I didn't bring it. I need to bring it, but hang it right here. It says, "I'm kind of a big deal," just to joke off the movie.
His lovely wife bought him.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, there you
again.
go.
Thank you again.
The star of the show.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
She's even got her own camera, Tracy Cam.
Aw,
Please don't.
I love it.
It gets half of her and half of you, so it's anyway.
Which half?
Your
good
better half. The half with the patch
hold
on the jacket. So anyway, yeah. So if you don't know Matthew Dillner, he's with the Lost Speedways, right?
Yep.
The show on Peacock.
Yes, sir.
And you're a producer on that show too, right?
Yeah, executive producer on the show, but also producer of Dirty Mo Media, which is Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s company.
Yes.
For the Dale Jr. Download podcast and TV show and all that. So all that good stuff.
So whenever you watch the podcast, when you see the videos on YouTube, do you put those together?
Yeah, we have a whole team of us that put them together.
Okay.
At Dirty Mo, but I'm the big awkward looking large man with the funny hat and the glasses in the booth.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
So
David,
for
have
your
you
listeners,
ever seen that studio over there at Junior?
I've not been to the studio.
Nice.
I gotta get my sweet tea. Watch
I
this.
saw the only time I saw it was whenever they had Harvick on, and I saw so they were doing a video following him into the
Yeah, that was
area.
interesting.
But it used to be a gift shop, I suppose, right? Part of it.
Yeah. So we actually, the original podcast studio was so funny because it was like this little closet with a couch in it, man. And you were sitting like this close to another guy and like talking to him like this. And it's like, this is awkward.
Right.
So the show's really blossomed ever since we got the studio. We kind of joke that there's some magic in the table.
Yeah.
Like we were kind of calling it the table of truth.
Oh,
because
the
it
big
seems like
table.
when guys sit down, like they just blah.
Yeah.
But I think it's really the comfort level.
Exactly.
It's a way cooler space, man. It's like a man cave in there, dude. It's
Almost as nice as this.
Almost.
I don't know, man. When you got the magic mullet over there, I just keep on watching, looking at that thing. If we get a backlight, and we get it glistening there, Ham, you got to work on yours, brother.
Oh, I know. I tried, man.
Yeah.
But my wife kind of shot me down on that.
Your wife doesn't like the facial hair.
Well,
I have no
goes,
problem
Matt.
with
Lose the
with
facial hair, grow the mullet. Is that a deal?
That
Are we
works.
working a deal here?
That works.
It's getting there.
How's that backlighting?
Oh my
Little hair
gosh,
light.
that's glorious.
Little hair light.
Oh Lord.
He can become a Kyle Petty Jr.
The mullet is coming back, and why not the turtleneck? My wife disagrees with that one, but I think that's the next one.
I like the
turtleneck.
turtleneck.
I've got.
Yeah, me too. It's good in the winter.
Yeah.
Well,
What's your neck
okay.
one?
Would you call the shirt I've been wearing lately is Coors Light? It's not really a turtleneck. It's got
it
Coors
a
Light
mock?
up here. It's one of
No.
those longer neck shirt
It's
kind of
just-
things.
that's
Okay.
not a turtleneck.
Anyway.
Look, I got a
Turtleneck's
sticker.
turned down.
I just saw a squirrel.
That's your stuff right there.
Look, I got a Racing Roots with Hamm sticker.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Man, this is like Christmas.
I gave you
High tech.
Ho, ho, ho.
4 of them, and then you got some cards to take with you too,
Yeah.
and such. So and a little business card.
And I got some sweet tea. We just ate across the street at what was that place called?
Groucho's.
Groucho's.
Deli.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like it.
Got my sauerkraut in me, so we're all
boy.
good. We even
Oh,
got Derek
that's that
Colson.
smell?
Yeah, that's the smell. Derek Colson decided to join us this evening, and of course we got Phil Cavalli over there,
legend.
and and Patrick. I call him Patrick.
Patrick
Do
Swayze
you guys
Jr.
really understand what a legend Phil Cavalli is?
Oh yeah,
that would be
Phil's the
my dad.
man.
Our
That'd be my
backstory, Phil and I's backstory, is too colorful for radio or TV or
Yeah.
internet.
That's
Might
why when
even
you
be too
mentioned me-
colorful for internet.
That's
Well,
the
you
After
mentioned
Dark
it.
show.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah,
I
that's the
blushed.
After Dark show. That's when we turn this thing off right here.
Back when it was real fun after the racing was done, right?
All I'll say is Jamaica,
I know.
2000. What was that?
2002.
Beach Bash.
Yeah, the Beach Bash.
Dale Jr.
Oh my God, what
Hornaday.
Yeah.
All you got to say is Hornaday, and we know it's going to be a party.
Yeah, that was Brett Bodine went
Brett
too.
Bodine,
Yep.
Larry Mack.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of people.
I
They all
don't think
jumped on the bus and got out of
yeah.
there, past the cows and through the pasture and to the airport. And I'll bet you we were in Jamaica by the time Victory Lane let out at the championship in
Probably.
Homestead. Yep.
And all I know is, yeah, I made a few ex-girlfriends on that trip, and
I still have friends from
yes,
that trip.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, Debbie Sawicki Elling. I still talk to her all the time.
Oh,
you know,
God.
she wasn't one of the ex-girlfriends. No, but yeah, no, she was just a
Hold on.
nice lady. That
Is
I
your
met.
wife listening?
Yeah, no. Well, that's why they're exes.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's
Erica's
a
much
reason.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. And that's true to know. Hey, so we got Matthew Dillner in here. If you're just now tuning in, if you're late to the show, we are welcoming you as coming on to the show. Sorry. This is one of my rules. Whenever we start a show, turn your phones down.
Oh, well, I've got a race car ring on mine, so if it goes off, it sounds cool as heck. It's not like
Dragging in the street.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's way cooler, man.
All right, so what we always do here is this, we start the show with, besides all the stuff we just started with, your story. Like, we want to hear your background. Like, where did you were born and raised, that kind of stuff.
I was born and raised in Huntington, Long Island, New York. Stick and ball town, man. But Dad was a race car driver before I was born. And, he quit racing and put food on the table. But he always took myself and my brother to races at our local track, Speedway. And then we traveled around, the whole Northeast chasing modified races, 2-3 races a weekend. I didn't go to camp. I didn't go to all these Boy Scouts or whatever, all these things that kids do.
Yeah.
I grew up at a racetrack, and sitting in the stands, or, and then my brother started writing in the Northeast for, publications like Area Auto Racing News and Speedway Scene. And so we were always just entrenched in it. And that was I was raised at racetracks.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you should have a lot of racing stories, I guess. And your brother too. I mean, he's a little bit older than you, I guess.
Yeah. He's my older. I'm the Pontiac Dillner. Wider. So, but yeah,
Gotcha.
Bob's my older brother. He had a pretty good NASCAR career too with Speed Channel and whatnot, and he's still working, man.
Yeah.
He's still grinding. He's announcing the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Tour for MAV TV.
I ran into him somewhere last year at a modified race.
Did you hurt him when you ran into him?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
God
good.
got you. Yeah.
I'm glad. He's skinnier. You'd bounce off of me, brother.
Oh, he's still a joy.
He is.
He's still a joy.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is he a big guy?
No,
Tall.
yeah, he's tall.
He's real tall.
He's more the string bean of the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, string beans and cucumber.
You got length and girth, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got it both.
I was gonna say.
So are you off on Tuesday mornings now for a little while, or are y'all starting back?
Yeah, we're not really recording over our off season, but we are prepping. We're doing things with the studio. We're doing things in preparation for Dale Jr.'s big Hall of Fame induction, which we're all pumped about. So things are moving fast. We just got off a holiday break. We had, a tough holiday break, losing Danny Earnhardt and losing Martha. Tough for the family, tough for the shop. People don't realize what a family, Junior Motorsports is, top to bottom, the family that works there, let alone the people in there that have connections to the family. And it doesn't operate like this big corporate structure, even though it's affiliated with Hendrick and whatnot, and it has a lot of those positive traits. That place, I've never worked at a place like that where it's literally
The
like
Waltons,
family.
like the Waltons.
It's a beautiful thing,
yeah.
like when I walked in those doors, not knowing what to expect within, a month or two. I mean, people from top to bottom, from the Kellys to, Alan, who's the supervisor of the building, everybody treats you like family. It's a really cool, special thing.
I think it'd be neat if the Uris would have stayed there too,
Yeah, but they're doing really good right now with, the chassis deal. So
Yeah. Is it Fury?
Yep. So that's good to see them at the racetrack still,
Yep.
And Tony Jr.'s doing some of the stuff with the SRX.
Yes,
I believe.
Yeah,
with,
so he did some crew chief and stuff and advising with that. So that's cool.
That's I've known Tony Sr. for, I don't know, since before I got into racing for a while.
Yeah.
Only for a while. I knew Lynn before she met Tony.
Oh, wow.
Before they got married.
Wow.
Before she was just a racing fan. She was an Ernie Irvan fan. So whenever we would go to these company picnics, I would hang out with her and talk about racing. And this was with my first wife. And then anyway, so she ended up meeting Tony, and then they got married, and the rest is history.
Look, we're talking about ex-girlfriends, first wives here. You know, come on, we got to get back to racing. we got to be careful.
Yeah, especially with your wife sitting there, David.
I know, right? I didn't say
your
my baby.
hand
I don't
mama.
even know if mine's listening. She's probably putting the kids to bed.
Yeah. So all right, so you went through your story. So how did you move south?
Oh, gee. Well, my brother and I were working on a TV show up in the Northeast for about 5 years. And we developed a relationship with a lot of people at TNN Motorsports. So we would shoot stuff for TNN, you know, in preparation for some of their races in the Northeast. And in turn, they would like send us little video snippets, interviews of some of the northern drivers that were racing down south, say in the Busch Series, like the Jeff Fullers or the Mike McLaughlins, to put on our little regional racing show. And an opportunity opened up for my brother at TNN with a show called Race Day, and he took it. And then shortly after that, I was freelancing for them and traveling from Long Island, New York, and they offered me a full-time gig, and I turned it down like 3 times, which was idiotic now looking back, and I don't know why they even called me back. But I eventually made the move down south. I think it was like 99 or 2000 to work for TNN Race Day, which was a dream at the time. You know, growing up, that was like the powerhouse, you know, NASCAR, you know, or not just NASCAR. Heck with that, man. It was the powerhouse racing show. Yeah. They covered everything,
Monster
drag racing, IndyCar, you know, car. It was so cool. And then to come into that deal and, you know, here I am like this modified guy. Next thing you know, I'm working in the Cup garage. Then 2 weeks later, I'm studying the IndyCar drivers and the crew chiefs and all, because I'm going to go work a kart race. Whoa. And then an NHRA race, and I'm like, this is just amazing. My head was exploding.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
So what did you do for them? Was your camera?
Yeah, I did everything from camera, which was kind of, I took up after I was more of like a producer, and then I started doing the camera because I just wanted to learn everything. Yeah. So I was doing producing, I was editing, and then I started doing camera work, and that's what really kind of led me to a longer career in Cup, because I did camera in the NASCAR garage for all different networks and stuff for 19 years.
Yeah.
So
and as tall as you were, you always had that advantage of shooting above everybody.
Yeah,
I remember you'd
which
walk
is
around
great.
there, Matt, with that camera about 9 feet in the air.
Except for the only bad thing was being big, you do get in the way sometimes.
Sure.
Well, you know,
inadvertently.
Getting your shot, right?
But yeah, what a blessing, you know, to sit there and, you know, I don't know, like
live a dream.
Yeah, and you always got to think, like in life, you know, you got to think back to. Here's a good example, okay, of what I'm going to try to illustrate. We're shooting Lost Speedway season 1. We're at Okinichi Speedway. Oh, yeah. We had a break in the filming of the show, and we had to wait for sunlight. And I was sitting on this park bench, and the historian guy came up to me. He's like, "Man, you look like you're in deep thought." And I was like, "I am." And he's like, "What about?" And I was like, sometimes you just got to sit and take 2 seconds to think, what would the 5-year-old, what would the 8-year-old you think about what you're doing, like right now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, we were just walking down the track with Richard Petty and Dale Jr. around this Lost Speedway. Yep. Like, is life real? You know, so it's like, no matter what you're doing, like working in the garage with a camera, like you did for so many years, Phil, you know, what would that 8-year-old you think? And if you take that perspective every once in a while, you know, through all the noise and mess, it can help so much. And
I
really
breathed
give you
it
that.
In many times.
Yeah,
just
dude.
Stopped and stood there and thought, "Holy cow!
This
let's
is
just
awesome.
Keep walking." Yeah, you do. You got to keep your composure somewhat, but I'm completely blessed for everything I'd experienced.
Yeah, I went through that too with especially my first time going to Indy.
Oh yeah.
You know, and walking through there, it's like, wow.
And just the first time, that was it. It was enough.
And that was it. Yeah. After that, I was like, oh, this is old now.
I still haven't been back for a 500. I've only been to one 500, and I want to go back so bad.
Yeah, I wasn't there for the 500. I was there for the NASCAR race.
I did the double duty with Robbie in '96.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I flew out with Felix and them in the morning and did that, and then flew back.
And he's no fun.
Robbie or Felix?
That was a joke. That was sarcasm.
Yeah. 97? Was it 97?
Yeah, that's when they flew. The 600 was getting ready to start, and we were running late.
Is that the helicopter?
Yeah, we were in a helicopter and came down the backstretch and went in front of the turn 1 suites where Winston Cup scene people were there, and I was waving out the window, and then Robbie and I got out, and we ran together up the front stretch. Yeah.
I would have been his jackman that year.
Were you?
Yeah.
Were you?
Yep. Halfway through the year. Halfway through, because we took Robbie and switched him over to what we call the B team. We had the A team and the B team. and he was like our A-team guy. He was going to be in a. But then there was some little, things going back and forth, some complaining and this and that. So we ended up saying, all right, we're just going to switch you over to the B team. I mean, not that it made any difference, but it's like one of those attitude adjustment kind of things.
Yeah.
That year. So it was a weird year. It's like switching from one team to another.
Was that Nemechek was the other team, or?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I switched sponsors, drivers, all that halfway through the year. It was interesting. So
That's interesting.
And then
Yeah,
Sterling
I went to Okanichi Speedway after I watched Lost Speedways last year. I drove up there.
Wasn't it so cool?
Yeah, it's because they use it as a workout thing for
Yeah.
now to people walk around. But they got the old car sitting there on the front stretch and the grandstands. You can go up. That's what I did. I went up there and I sat there and I imagined what it would be like. Yeah, that show was fantastic.
There's hidden gems there too. I took my wife and kids there after doing the show, and there's things that we didn't get to talk about there's things we didn't get to talk about on the show. And one of the things that we didn't, that is something that I'm passionate about. I love the diversity of our sport. And for years, the NASCAR has had this, stereotype, which I think is wrong. Much like some of the South, in my opinion, of being, racist or whatever, which is couldn't be further from the truth. Sure. When I grew up in racing, it didn't matter what you looked like, what religion you were. If you're a racer, you're a racer. Yeah. And something very interesting there, if you actually look at Okanichi, if you're sitting in the stands towards the turn 4 side, there's a hill, and the hill has some cinder blocks and things like that kind of abandoned in the moss, and it's kind of beautiful and eerie looking. That was the segregated section, because they raced during segregated times. Yeah. So to think, I talked to some historians that really painted this elaborate picture of how many African Americans would actually show up and pull for Wendell Scott, that it was actually packed, and they didn't get to sit, in the nice section, but that was the segregated South back then. And I think that's a sad thing, but it's a scar that we learn from, and you look at what those people sitting there, they were at the foundation of the sport just as much as the people that were sitting in the nice seats. Yeah. And we look at how much we celebrate Wendell's career now. I think it's really interesting. I brought my son there and took a picture of him sitting there, and I can't wait until he's old enough to explain that picture to him of how fortunate we are that we're living in a different time. Yeah. So that place is just, it is beautiful. It's a park. Even if you're not a racing person, it's just a magical place to be. That's
an interesting turn on things, because I really have never heard of that. Yeah. And I guess I've really never thought about it. Yeah.
That's only about 2 hours from here. It's a nice little drive.
It's a great trip to go take if you're going up near Chapel Hill or whatever. Yep.
I took a day and went up there about a year and a half ago, right after you guys put that show out.
It's like a small little, it's not even really a hike, I wouldn't call it, but it's a very light hike if you like walking around a park and whatnot. And,
well, there's so much to kind of lament on as you're going around. It's not like you're just walking on a path. You're looking around and realizing this is turn 1 and turn 2 and how tight it was. And
then you look over the banking of turn 1 and 2 where Sarah Christian flipped end over end, and that famous photo of her by her car with the crunched in roof, one of the early female racers in our sport, and you see the crowd around it. If you go to Okanichi and you actually do your homework studying beforehand and kind of make you a little notepad of these great moments and stuff, and then you could actually retrace those steps by walking around. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, that's the one I did last year.
Yes, there he is.
Yeah,
look at that.
What'd you say you did, Phil?
September.
You lamented? Yeah. Can you put that in layman's terms? I'm just kidding. I couldn't help myself.
Symbol shot. All right.
Yeah. Hey, so what we need to do is take a quick break, a couple minutes, and then we'll come right back and answer some questions.
Lament more.
And I'm going to look that word up right quick. So if you would, if you got a question for Matthew, put a big Q in front of it and put it on here right now. And we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm.
Hey guys, just a little reminder. Elm Fantasy Store
Yes. So free estimates,
Okay, do that phone number one more time.
704-309-1292.
At Banner Drug, we are proud to say we have been caring for our patients in our community since 1996. Our pharmacy offers a personalized customer service experience you expect from a locally owned store. To help you with your prescriptions, all 4 Banner Drug locations can deliver your medication right to your door. You can call in your prescription refill order, or better yet, use the convenient refill button on our website, www.bannerdrug.com.
And we're back to Racing Roots with Hamm right here on 550 AM, 92.9 FM locally here in Statesville. And if you're on the webs, you can go to DHammiam on YouTube, and you can see us here live in the Randy Marine studio, as well as on Facebook, Racing Roots with Hamm page. And if you want to go anywhere else, you got the links there. Go to Twitter and all that type of things. So if you saw me messing with my phone, I actually left my one phone open to my Twitter messages.
Oh, cool.
Because Junior sent me a message one time, and he sent it to me on Twitter, and I saw it like a month later.
When we had Danny Jr. on.
Yeah. And so I figure if he's going to ask a question, I've got it open for him. And
We're prepared today.
Yes. He's even got our phone number if he wanted to call. And, I like doing surprises like that. You know, like we had Will Cronkite called in there, Harold Johnson
guy.
last week, and then Humpy Wheeler.
Nice.
So, you know, I kind of tied that together because of the whole story with Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s first ride, or his first competitive ride in 1978 at Charlotte. So I thought, you know, that'd be cool to do that.
I'm just getting a text message right now. Carl Smart Jr. is watching.
Very good.
You know, we just lost Carl Smart, a great dirt track legend in the area, and his son's been really, you know, into his father's career the last few years, and he's watching right now. So it's cool, man, to get these messages.
Yeah, very good. And so that kind of brings up a good point too with doing this show and Junior show, your show. Yeah. The way we all do that is kind of like to bring the history of NASCAR racing before. You know, like some of the tracks y'all go to are gone now.
Yeah.
You know, and had we known they were going to be gone, could have went to them before they were, you know, while they were still racing. And same with our show and some of the people that we have on our shows, they're not going to be around forever. Yeah. We were just talking about that off air. Like we're not promised tomorrow.
Nope.
Nope.
So speaking of that, with Speedways, you got a question from Justin St. Louis.
Oh, Justin.
Maddie, when are you guys coming to Vermont? Catamount is half gone in the last year. Fairmount is still here, and Otter Creek is sort of still here.
Sort of, yeah. I know Catamount would be one of the more colorful ones to do. There's just not much to explore, so that's a sad thing, you know, too, is like the way we do our show, there's such an exploratory part of it, more than just a history show. Sure. That really you need those tracks that are kind of still there, you know, to do it well. But New England has a ridiculous race history. I'm like a adopted New Englander, because you know, we grew up going on Friday nights. We'd go 3.5 hours in my dad's pickup truck. We'd go up to Stafford Speedway. That was our Friday night track, and then come back 3.5 hours and work all morning on Saturday and go to our local track on a Saturday night. So, you know, so I love New England. Yeah.
Very good. There's a lot of guys that are in NASCAR.
Oh yeah.
Grew up in that area racing and whatever. I saw Ronnie Childers might be one. I knew he was up there somewhere.
Was Ronnie? I thought he was from down here.
No,
I might be wrong.
I don't really know where he's from.
Man, when I first met Ronnie, he was a race car driver.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He was running late models.
He barely filled the uniform out.
Yeah. I think
and he was a good racer too.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing.
Right.
What a genius, though.
Yeah, I was. Hey, Tracy, did you have any questions on?
Yeah, there's actually 3 questions that's come in so far. So Cratchity, which is Will Cronkite, he says, asked to see if Matthew would talk about the Jungle Park suicide.
Oh, wow. Wow, what a great, that's a good one. You know, that's a deep subject. But probably one of the most colorful and eerie stories to ever come out of a lost speedway that I've ever heard in the history of motorsports. And, you know, touches a little deep. But, you know, there was a driver in 1932 named Edward Leeper that was racing at Jungle Park Speedway in Indiana. If you've watched our show, it's season 1. I believe it's episode maybe 7 or 8 with my friend Bobby Marcos is in it with me. And we explore this early racing mecca of the big cars, the pre-IndyCar big cars, open cockpit, no seatbelts. And the track was really this odd track. You go down into turn 1 and there's the banking, but there was no walls. It was just trees, and it was a dangerous track. It's one of the more dangerous tracks in big car history. Well, Edward Leeper was taking hot laps and unfortunately drove off the turn 1 and banking and came to a pretty gruesome death. And there's a local paper that, you look at history and you research and you see the obituary and you see all the articles about it. But then about a week and a half later, there was a local paper that had interviewed his cousin. And his cousin had said, and I'm paraphrasing this because I don't have it in front of me, that Edward had told him that it would, bring him great satisfaction to go to Jungle Park and end it all tonight. And he tried to stop his cousin from going to the racetrack that night.
Okay.
So that's just one of the stories that's, a big scar in the history of that place, and something very emotional, very deep when you really think about that. You just, try to put yourself in that mindset. But historically, I've never heard anything like that in motorsports, it's one of the most unique stories I've ever heard. So it's a deep one. It's a dark one. And that place holds the key to so many incredible racing stories of Indy 500 stars and all, but it also holds these moments of glimpses of early motorsports tragedy and how dangerous it was. And in this regard, something even more spectacular and tragic. But it's a crazy place. You walk around that joint, no kidding. I don't know if you've ever been up there. If you go to Indianapolis and you go see the place, I'm not saying I believe in ghosts or anything like that, but you walk around Jungle Park and it's just you get a very heavy feeling when you're there. Right. Even before I really knew those stories, there's something about that place that's heavy. It's you feel it when you walk in there.
It's like Talladega. You've heard some stuff about Talladega.
Yeah, you've heard all the Indian stories, the Indian burial grounds, and
Bobby Isaac,
and so many things have happened there that are nuts. But this one hits a little bit differently.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to ask you if you saw the show with Andy Stapp when we were talking to him about his
I love Andy. He just helped me out with building a little table.
Okay, good.
I was up at his house 2 weeks ago.
He was on 2 weeks ago here. On a Monday, of course.
He's a great person.
His I don't know what I said, of course. His grandfather or great grandfather raced in Indy, 14 or 15 times. But there was one picture of his grandfather, and it was he had no helmet, but he had some aviator goggles on, racing out there shaking the car down. Yeah.
Just look at how much the sport's changed from that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. In the 1930s, that was so. Yeah.
Oh, you think about the 1930s and all that. I just got a book. Okay. I'm a nerd. Okay. And I love researching. And, we can't do an episode about the Nutley Velodrome in New Jersey, but I'm fascinated by this place. Right. And it only had, I think, a 2-year history. But it was a velodrome that was built for bicycles. Okay. So picture this. Okay. Bowman Gray is a quarter mile. Yeah. That's a small, a running track, right? This place was a 1/7 of a mile. Racetrack. Whoa. And it was banked 45 degrees. So that's halfway between 90 degrees there. If you could you take your hand and picture that, and in a 1/7 of a mile track racing open wheel, open cockpit midgets.
I mean, like a roller derby.
It was spectacular.
On skates.
So I just recently bought a book that I've been eyeing on eBay, and I've been too cheap to pull the trigger until I got a really good deal. And the past 2 days I've been digging into the book, just reading. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it just pulls you right in.
Oh my gosh, this sport has the most colorful history, and I'm not saying this because I'm in the sport. I love history of baseball. I love history of football, hockey, but there's no history like racing history, and not just NASCAR history. Everybody talks about NASCAR. NASCAR is great. I'm so fortunate to have made a living within the NASCAR world. Yeah. But you look at the overall history of motorsport in general, including NASCAR, And you don't get history like that. You don't get criminals and gangsters and moonshine and stories of bravery, with these people fighting a machine around a track with zero safety, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's such a colorful, wonderful interplay of emotion and bravery and
look at some of the guys that came back from the war and got in the race car, like Bud Moore and Red Byron and different people.
Yep. Yeah, Red Byron in particular. I mean, that's a war hero.
Yeah.
Here he is. He's celebrated within NASCAR, right? Yep. But do the real NASCAR fans know Red Byron? Do the real NASCAR fans understand that he had already flown enough missions? He was leaving the war. And there was somebody in his, I don't know what you'd call it, platoon or whatever, that was going on a flight as a tail gunner that day. And his wife was giving birth that day. So Red said, I'll take this one for you.
Yeah.
And then they got shot down.
It's crazy.
And he, they're trying to amputate his leg and he won't let them. And he comes back hobbled and still gets in a race car and performs at the highest level and becomes, champion. Everybody knows NASCAR's first, champion. But
right.
Unbelievable to think that this guy was a war hero. You don't get that these days.
Even when he got out of the race car with the goggles and the dirt and stuff, he looked like he'd been flying on a mission,
Well, it's like Dink Widenhouse. I've become friends with Dink and DeVita and whatnot. Dink is one of the true living pioneers of the sport that's unheralded by all of us, actually. He doesn't get the credit he is due. And, I was talking to Bobby Marcos the other week, who helps me with us with Lost Speedways. And I was like, dude, do you believe we're friends with a guy that raced against Red Byron?
Yeah.
And he's still alive. That's like a treasure. Yeah. That is an absolute treasure. That era is just, it's gone.
Yeah. Yep. It is.
And that's the whole premise of this show, is to talk about those experiences with people that, were in it when very beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
Lot before he was going over the wall as a jackman, and I was carrying a camera, and this guy was running around too.
Right, for sure. Yeah. So the what I was thinking about earlier, I was talking about riding. I met the Graves, the Graves family, and
Andy Graves
and Everham. Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, okay.
They come from up there in that area, I believe, in the open wheel racing and stuff. Yeah.
Ray came from Wall Stadium and New Egypt Speedway. Stomping grounds, similar stomping grounds to me.
I had Childers on my mind because I had just messaged
Childers is born in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Is it Mooresville?
Yeah,
okay.
Mooresville, 1975. Yep.
He was on my brain for some reason. Well, and I was going to mention to Dickie Dennis that I talked to him the other day to try to get him on the show, but he's getting ready to go full in on still being a crew chief. So I was trying to talk him out of doing the crew chief thing again so they can come on the show, but it just ain't gonna happen yet.
Dickie Dennis is going to be a crew chief.
No,
Rodney Childers.
No,
Dickie.
Okay.
I was like, wow.
I'm sitting there going,
no,
I didn't hear this.
Matt, do you know who Dickie Dennis is?
I've heard of him, but I
He's
don't
the
know him
fence climber
personally.
at
Yes,
Richmond.
yes.
Yeah.
We actually just had a conversation about him before we started the show.
Yep, that's right. Yep, and I mentioned he was a 4-car. He's a big fan. Of Harvick.
Yeah.
So that's why he would love it if we got Rodney Childers on, but he forgot to take his phone up there to get a selfie with the 4-car when.
That's just a shame. Like I remember watching it. Sorry, Dickie, but I remember thinking that's a whole new level of drunk or a whole new level of stupid. But he was up there and like, by God, the fact that he did that and lost his privileges to go to races, but he didn't get a selfie out of it. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate like slapping your own face.
Well, there's lots of videos. So.
Oh yeah. That's true.
And we met him at Martinsville.
Yep.
This year. So he actually
he's
went
back?
He went back to
sweet, good.
It was just
no more fence climbing there, Spider-Man.
That's right.
Well, it was outside of the fence.
It's outside of Henrico County, I guess it was.
So do we want to get to the next question?
Yes, go for it.
All right. So Michael Lockhart says, can you and or Dale do a Lost Speedways for Tulsa Expo Raceway?
Oh, somebody brought that up the other day, because of the fact that the old Tulsa Raceway, and then they actually use the dirt from that place for the actual Chili Bowl each year. Oh. So they bring it in and out each year and they store it at a facility. It's actually a really cool story. I don't know. I mean, you never say never, but that's an interesting, when somebody said that on Twitter, I was like, wow, that's an interesting way to look at that.
Is it because the dirt has the same angle of repose? I'm gonna get nerdy. I know that
He's
sounded
like, what are you
ridiculous.
talking
Angle of
about?
repose. What are we
Yeah.
talking about here?
We're not technical.
So if you take,
I'm a redneck Yankee. You got to like come down like here and
Hey, you were talking on Lost Speedways about the density on the Daytona Beach. Would you say it has quartz in it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, actually,
don't
that
get-
was Buzz McKim. He's way more educated than I.
You were the one that said it. So
is that the actual dirt? Is that the dirt? The sand?
The
from
sand.
the
I
beach?
actually should have brought it. I actually show and tell. I'm
Well-
such a nerd. I brought Shelby with me.
Oh, we can
The
test.
little,
yeah,
the little,
yeah,
here you can hear
yeah.
Shelby. Everybody that's listening.
So,
But I've got the jar of sand on my desk right now too. Yeah.
I'll tell this story right quick. So and then we can try it with that. Maybe no, I don't know. You don't want to lose any of the greens.
I've got some extra.
Okay, good. So when you take like let's say sand, the beach at Daytona, and you drop, let's say you're looking at hourglass, and it comes down in its shape of how it is. That supposedly is like its strongest angle, and different type of dirt is going to have a different kind of angle, sort of, It depends on the size of the grains.
He's a damn scientist.
and all this kind of stuff.
Bill
so
Nye.
I'm a nerd.
Bill Nye, the racing roots guy.
I have to know everything. If I have a question about something, I'm gonna write it down and I'm gonna research it just because I just.
Well, I'm that way too,
I love
but
knowing that
science,
stuff.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing out my protractor to a racetrack.
Well, no. But some of the tracks. Yeah, but
that is
so,
physics.
So
Okay.
that is like some of the tracks, especially dirt tracks. I guess it would be the strongest angle. That the banking would have the best amount of when the car is going in the corner and pushing in that stuff. So it is what it is,
So
kind
is
of
it
thing.
dense
stronger?
dirt.
Is that what you're saying?
Okay,
It's
I
the
got you.
strongest.
It's the
angle.
strongest.
Right.
Meanwhile, at the Batcave.
So, but but as far
God,
as
I love Cavalli.
anyway, yeah, that's it. Hey, at least we didn't start talking about the engine and
No, because
different
you'll
things
lose me
that we
there.
could
I'm
get
not
in.
that mechanically inclined.
Yeah,
Well, there
so
are more questions that's come through.
yeah, we're
since we've been
artistic.
talking.
We're artistic.
Yes, artistic. Yeah, very.
Go for it.
So Patrick Jinks says, a question from a PA boy. What's your favorite series at Stafford Speedway?
Oh, my favorite series that races there or division? I guess
He says series is what he
Okay,
says.
series, of course, I'd go with anything modified. The Modified Tour traditionally runs up there, but this year they're running the Spring Sizzler, the 40th annual Spring Sizzler, as an independent open modified show, not under the NASCAR umbrella, which I think there's a lot of excitement, a lot of hype building up for that race right now because they're throwing some good money at it. But Stafford's basically like the mecca of modified racing in the Northeast. I watch it now on Flow. Weekly, they have it on Friday nights, and now I'm connected back with my home track again because of it. I was talking to Jackie Arute about that. I'm like, I used to go on, and look at who did what on the internet. And now I can watch it. So I connect the faces and the names and see what their tendencies are. And I know who the street stock drivers are, and this and that. So it's really cool. But yeah, I'd say my favorite division there, I'd probably say the street stocks this year, but my favorite series to ever watch there, you got to watch the ground pounders around Stafford. It's a great tradition. The greatest race in the history of spring, they call it, the Spring Sizzler.
Who's on your shirt?
Oh, good question. This is a Marion Cox shirt. Mike Cox gave it to me. It's become one of my favorite shirts.
Good.
Never on Sunday, it says, because Preacher Cox's cars were very successful in the North Carolina, South Carolina region, various drivers. But Preacher Cox's cars, he never liked them to race on Sunday. He was a devout
Day of
Christian.
rest. Yeah.
Day of rest, day for the Lord, and that's I thought this is a pretty cool remake of the shirt. Dale's got a copy too. Got a shirt too, and Mike Cox, the son of Marion Cox, was nice enough to send me one too. I was pretty.
Well, I noticed that Dale likes he wears some of the throwback shirts, and I used to have more of those, but that went through divorce and whatever. They got
None of them fit me, man.
And
I know. When a lot of my stuff I can't wear because it's large or medium. I'm like, I never planned for the future.
you could make that work with that shirt and jacket you got on. See, you could cut it all out around here,
and
just make the front.
just have this open air like man tank and sew it up
The
with some
muscle
bungee
tank.
cords or something
would
like
do it.
that.
They get a one
Piece
piece.
it all to one.
Hey, if it was a cool enough shirt, I would do it. Yeah. So, he had a Marty Houston shirt on after I had Marty on the show that one time. Now he needs to get a Clark Houston to go with that, right?
Oh,
Derek.
okay.
Yeah. He's doing well. Derek's good friends with them. They go out to dinner and such. Quite a bit, Marty and Andy. Yeah. And
He's a good kid.
Yeah. Does Tommy ever go with y'all?
Yeah, from track to track.
Yeah.
You name it. Wake County and
Right.
Those little short tracks for the Southeast Super Truck Series. And now
Yep.
he's moving up into the next series above. I think it's maybe a Cars Tour series there. And
Cars Tour's good.
There. Tommy and Martha both are there.
Oh, yeah. I saw some pictures of him with his. That's pretty cool. Your grandfather's there when you win a race.
Yeah.
I think it was at, I don't know if it was Anderson. It had a picture of Tommy with him.
Anderson, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Kingsport.
Yeah. And he won a championship for this series last year. So, yeah. Clark Houston. Check him out.
That's cool. That's cool. Will
Yeah.
do.
So Dickie Dennis wants us to go back to talking about him being a crew chief.
Of course.
Oh, wait a minute.
I mean, we just upgraded the guy from the fence climber to being a dang crew chief. I mean, pretty soon he's going to be, he's got a multi-year deal with Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
going to be the driver.
I think he'll
by the
start
end of the
out.
show.
Yeah.
I think he'll start out with old Del McCowart. You know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right, I can tell you, Dickie's probably won a lot of parties.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's already got that
He
going.
was an airborne ranger. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you, Dickie.
That's how he scaled that fence. That was nothing to him.
Yep.
That's right.
You know something about serving right there, man.
Yes, sir. U.S. Navy photographer, skate duty.
What years were you in the Navy?
78, 1900s, 78 to 83. 5 years I had to
Okay.
do.
My
yeah.
dad was in the Navy in the 60s, so
Was he?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
my
had it easy.
grandfather was in the 40s. Actually, during World War II.
No, wow.
I mean, this show ain't about me or anything. I'm not saying it.
Hey, well,
Tell us
you're a
about-
racer,
I'm
and
not-
that's racing
yeah,
roots, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to steal the story there because you were in the Navy. Thank you for your service.
But
Yes.
tell us about your uncle,
Well, it was my grandfather. So
grandfather.
he was stationed in Brisbane, Australia during World War II. That's where he met my grandmother.
Oh,
So
He was
my-
one of, you know what, us Navy guys had always dreamed about going to Australia because all the girls there would be crazy when the ships pulled in.
Sure. Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, but go ahead.
Yeah, that was.
There's
well,
some great places
yeah.
to be stationed. I know my nephew right now is serving, and one of them served in Italy and Sicily.
Sigonella.
Yeah, Sigonella, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And my niece, she lived there with him for a while, and then he was deployed over to Saudi Arabia. But then my other nephew, married. I guess would you call somebody that marries your niece and nephew? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I guess it would be your.
Yeah, Julian.
nephew.
He's serving right now, and he's actually just got moved to Alabama, but he was I think 3 years or 2 years in Hawaii.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you want
See,
to.
that's
Yes.
what you need. You need to
That
join
would
the
be
Navy.
awesome.
I'll cut
No,
all
they'll
your
make him
hair
cut
off.
that hair. Heck with
Did
that.
mine. They did mine. I'll never forget it.
So Tony Stewart cutting your hair in the
That
media
was the
center of
second
New
time.
Hampshire
I'm
was the
talking
second
Navy
time he
cut
cut your
first
hair.
time. 78 in the Navy. And
I
then
thought you were going
99.
to cry that day.
No, I
Those
was
flowing locks being
that
cut.
freaked
Tony
me
Stewart
out.
had those scissors. He was laughing maniacally. It was beautiful.
And I never thought he was doing anything till I put my hand back
Oh,
there.
no,
and I
there
felt
was nothing
bristles.
there.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he hacked you up too, buddy.
Phil had long hair. It was longer than yours. Yeah. Oh, you'd seen pictures of him.
Oh yeah, this guy looked
Yeah.
like he was the lead singer of damn Cinderella.
Everything was good back then.
Yes.
Everything.
So when I say good day mates or whatever, when I say my dad was made in Australia, he was literally made in Australia
Yeah.
and shipped over here in a container, which was my grandmother's belly.
Aw.
Did he,
On a ship.
Did
So-
your
I love
grandfather
it.
bring
Yes.
her right back when he got out of the Navy then? Or?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He brought her from Australia at 18 to Lucama, North Carolina, which is out east. Down they call it down east.
Yeah, okay.
And he told her,
Old
this
English
is the big
kinda-
city.
That's so interesting.
yeah.
I love like things
Yes.
like that. Like I'm just starting to do my lineage,
Yeah.
and like just to find out the stories of
Careful.
where we all came from. It's really incredible. You
Yeah,
know,
careful.
Don't go looking too far. I had a few sprout up along the way with ancestry. So
oh boy.
Now that's my. Now, the ancestry stuff is
Yeah,
big.
it's intriguing.
It's my big
Yes.
thing. Since
Yeah.
my grandfather passed away in '92, I've been on.
I'm
that
doing it
pretty
more
hard.
for my children. You know,
Yeah,
so they
visiting
know their story.
Yeah, that's it. I visited graveyards and
Yeah.
taking pictures, videos, everything. What you got another question there,
There's
Tracy?
three. There's
Oh,
three
wow.
more
Three
questions.
Three more questions.
Come
yes.
on.
We're gonna get those.
So Andrew Higginbotham, I think
Hey,
I said
Higgy.
that right. He says, "What's the craziest thing that has ever happened to you at a racetrack, work or non-work related?"
oh God,
Oh Lord, I don't know if I could say.
you can't.
You
That's
know,
what I
Statute of
thought.
that's a little
limitations.
off the record. No, we won't go with that crazy. Actually, I was just telling my wife the other day, and I was cleaning up my little home office, which has become a stockpile, and you couldn't even walk in the thing. And I happened upon I was at Cherokee Speedway, I think 2 years ago, and I forgot the guy's name, but some guy just walked up to me And he's like, hey, man, I really love the show. You know, Dale Jr., I love Lost Speedways, this and that. And he hands me, he's like, I got this for you. And he gives it to me, and he, like, runs off. And I'm like, what the heck?
Grenade.
Like, what did he give me? And he looked down, and it's a damn can of sardines.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is this guy?
That's good stuff. Sterling likes them.
This guy just gave me a can of sardines. Like, what do I do? I was like,
yeah.
Fish heads.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fish heads. Fish heads.
Oh,
Fish heads.
Sterling Marlin introduced me to them with
Fish
sardines
heads.
and mustard.
no
But anyway,
thanks.
Yeah.
I'd have to be pretty overserved to even think about that.
They're actually really good for you. Good omega-3s.
Oh,
Good for
I
you.
guess.
Fatty acids.
I'm
Not your
glad you're
breath.
healthy.
Yeah, not if your breath. Does that
Yeah.
come with a ring of floss?
How do you get a lovely lady like this with sardine breath?
Yeah,
You
I guess
don't. You know,
it's a trade-off, you know. My health.
Higgy, good question, brother. I'll think of something else, and if I find something else, I'll text it to you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. What else you got?
So Philip says, has Matt checked out Jennerstown Raceway in Jennerstown,
Yes,
Pennsylvania?
not a Lost Speedway, but a really great racetrack.
Yeah.
I remember going there in the mid 90s, back when Tony Hirschman was driving the senior, not the spotter, Kyle Busch's spotter.
Right.
His father was driving the Tony Vecchio #1, and Tony Jankowiak and guys like that. Mike Stefanik, who's going to be
McLaughlin raced there. I saw him there in '89. I think I went and saw
yeah,
him.
it might have been '89 then
Yeah,
that I was there. But yeah, actually, you know what? It was before my TV career started. My TV career started in 1992, believe it or not. So it was before that. So it might have been then. But man, those are the days. That's a beautiful racetrack out there in Pennsylvania. So I'm glad it's still kicking too.
So you got to, you know, you're talking about you've done a lot of the camera stuff and all that, and you talked about doing some more hosting kind of stuff at some point. But you got a great personality. I mean, you're very upbeat and happy.
Well, when you have
and
looks
nice.
like this, you have to have a good personality.
You're perfect for radio, right? You got looks for radio. No, I'm kidding about that. But
I never thought I'd be able to do that. Like I remember making a choice. Like I was producing, and I remember I did some on-air stuff when I was like 17 years old. It's really embarrassing when you look back at it. Yeah. But I really wanted to go the route of the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd get a chance to do what I'm doing. I went down the camera route, and once you go down that route, you're not going to go, and you're kind of typecast, you know, into a role.
Yeah.
And then the show Garage Cam came about with NASCAR.com. And originally, Garage Cam, I don't know if you remember, Phil, they put a little static camera in the corner of the garage, and that's all it was.
Yeah.
So some of
See
us
the cars going in and out.
yeah,
that
we
was
would,
it.
at Daytona, we'd goof off and go in the media center and stream it, and then we'd go like, run out there.
That,
like,
you could
look-
watch the rain
Like,
too.
look at me. Yeah.
Yep.
And it was like, so then when they, Turner had NASCAR.com, they're like, hey, we're going to do this different. We're going to have a roving camera, and you're going to operate it, and you're going to have this backpack on you. It's scary that I wore that thing. But yeah. And you're going to walk around and show the cars. That's it. I'm like, hey, am I going to be talking? No. All right.
So
Well, let's just say old motor mouth here was walking around with the camera, and I'm not going to just show things. I got the microphone of the camera like right here within about 8 inches of my face, and I'm like, I started telling the fans what cars they're looking at. Here's the car chief, here's the crew chief, blah blah blah. Next thing you know, they're like, oh, okay, damn it, give Dillner a mic. So then all of a sudden, a few race car drivers started talking to me. Well, you couldn't really hear them, so they're like, all right, Dillner, we'll give you a stick mic, you know, to interview the drivers. So I really kind of forced my way into a role that definitely wasn't available to a guy like me. And then the role I've got with Dale, you know, and the role that I've had, the opportunity I had with Lost Speedways, if you really think about it, I'm a hobby stock driver, right? Racing your local dirt track, got a tire rack, open trailer, low budget, that got a chance in a big league car.
Right.
So like, I don't take an ounce of it for granted, because I got the opportunity that a short tracker in America, if they got an opportunity in the bigs and an Xfinity car or whatnot, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, and the opportunity that Dale and Mike Davis and them gave me, that doesn't happen. You know, so whether I have 2 seasons of Lost Speedways or 12, it don't matter. I've gotten to do something that I probably shouldn't have been able to do, and that I always dreamt of doing.
Yeah.
So it's an incredible thing.
And it couldn't have come at a better time, because I remember you were at a point where you were kind of between theirs, and we were sitting at the media center in Charlotte, and you weren't sure what was going to happen next year.
Nope.
And
I was having a tough
I said
year
some
that
prayers
last year.
for you. Yeah, a lot of people were.
Yeah, I was in a bad place mentally, to be honest with you.
Look what happened. It always happens for a reason.
Yeah,
it couldn't have been better.
You know, I regret too. Like that last year, I didn't enjoy it.
No,
I really miss being at the track in some ways, but I think I miss it because I really didn't enjoy that last year, and I was miserable. And then I was even more miserable when I got let go. Mm-hmm. So I got let go from my job 2 days before my baby was born.
Yeah.
And right before Christmas. And I didn't know what I was going to do. You know, my whole life had been racing to that point. And I was like, where am I going to go? And that's when Mike Davis and Dale actually called me and gave me an opportunity over there. So, you know.
It's like they say, one door closes, another opens.
Yep. It's you know, I say it till I'm blue in the face. I tell people that all the time, that they gave me that opportunity. I'll run through a brick wall for those two guys.
Yeah.
So is that your job now?
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dirty Mo Media, I just was there right before coming up here and having that sandwich with you up there. Yeah. So working on things for the podcast next year, working on things for the Hall of Fame announcement, you know, for the Hall of Fame induction and whatnot. So that's my job, Dirty Mo Media, all day, and I love it.
I bet
absolutely love it.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of taking care of the racing routes and doing pretty much everything, but I love doing that stuff. Content, man, it's fun to produce content, you know, and we're creating new content for this year, so we're not going to be like a few trick pony. You know, we've got some stuff coming up that's going to be cool as hell. Well, and you got a budget. I mean, Racing Routes doesn't really. I wish they would pay me more or pay something.
You need to pay yourself.
You need to talk to your boss.
You
need. Wait, aren't you the boss?
Sometimes.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, she is the real boss. Let's be real. Come on now.
I would let that happen if there was a tax advantage to that, maybe. But I don't know. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry, I didn't mean it.
Whatever. I'm used to your dumb jokes.
Oh,
she's being lying.
That's what my wife says too.
That's her job, I guess. Yeah.
We have that in common, brother.
Oh my gosh. So
there
anyway,
are a couple more questions,
yeah,
Dave.
go for it. Yeah.
All right. So next one, I'm assuming this might be Chad, but it doesn't say. It just says Facebook user. Has Dayton Speedway in Ohio came up in any research?
Yes, it has come up in research. There's a few Ohio tracks that have actually. You know, Bobby Marcos, he's from up in, you know, the Midwest, and then Kyle Jones is a good friend of mine. That's a guy that hunts Lost Speedways and does a ton of history. And he's up in that Ohio region too, which I wasn't born and bred in that region, so they really know it.
And you left there at what age?
Educate it, you know, get educated through them on that.
All right.
So yeah, Dayton has come up. You know, Memphis, Arkansas Speedway has come up to the monster oval. You know, that's I think a soybean field now. Wow. But there's so many tracks. I mean, we've got this map. I wish I had my laptop with you to show you, but. Our map between myself, Bobby, our friend Kyle Rizak from Canada, who's like a genius demolition derby guy, works on like computers and stuff, and then he's like the map master, you know, and then Dale, you know, all of us together on this map. We've got like 2,400 tracks mapped right now. It's insane.
Wow.
It's like absolutely insanity.
Hey, Derek wanted to know if you had Nazareth on there.
Oh yeah, I mean,
what's the condition of Nazareth?
Nazareth is in really poor condition right now. You can't drive around it. They actually tore up some of the pavement, so that couldn't happen, which was a smart thing to do, obviously. But it is in a state of extreme disrepair. So, and the stands are obviously gone from there. But yeah, all the buildings are pretty tore up too. So,
I've been there back whenever we raced there.
That's one of the few I never made to.
Really? I went there for Busch Series, kart. I didn't get to make it for the. I made it for the modifieds. Yeah, that was awesome.
So what?
Very unique track.
Oh yeah, like 5 turns, really. You know,
all the tracks.
What's with Pennsylvania, man? Seriously, what's with Pennsylvania? You got a track with 3 turns. You got a track with 5 turns. What's with you, PA?
It's the odd number.
Y'all
that's what it is. Odd
a lot of horse and carriages. Horse and carriages just made more sense.
What an incredible town like Nazareth to birth, you know, to really house the Andretti name.
Yeah.
You know, there, and that's what they're so known for. And then, you know, doing some of the history of the Nazareth National Speedway, which became Nazareth Speedway, that most race fans understand and know of. But there was also that half-mile dirt track that was there as well, that was basically right across the street. And there's some incredible history between both of those tracks and how they progressed and struggles politically with the town. It's a very wild story.
Do they have a track in Intercourse?
I've heard of Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Lament.
It's a legitimate question.
There's I've got a fantasy football. Well, I won't say it now. I'll use better judgment.
There is an Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Yes, there is. There's some other colorful
I'm sure you
towns.
visited it.
One of them in New York. I'll mention under commercial.
I got a refrigerator
where my
magnet.
fantasy football team's from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
in New York.
In the New York. We'll have to look it up.
All right.
Race fans, you can do it yourself.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick commercial break, which I almost forgot about.
And then we'll come back for more questions.
And speaking of, we're going to play this commercial right quick. So we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm.
Just a little reminder, Elm Fantasy Store has the special rack of lingerie, and there's a new selection of fantasy bedroom games for couples.
Acting in response to OSHA, which issued a vaccine or test requirement for companies with more than 100 employees last November. That requirement upheld by a U.S. Court of Appeals last month. The United States is expanding COVID boosters as it confronts the Omicron surge, FDA allowing extra Pfizer shots for children as young as 12. Boosters already are recommended for anyone 16 and older. Winter storm packing heavy snow, closing government offices and schools in the nation's capital. Monday storm dumping anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of snow. This is SRN News.
Real Country 550 and 92.9.
Now an important message from
DHammiam.
Exergen. A critical new FDA study proves.
All right, we're back to Racing Roots with Hamm right here on 550 AM, 92.9 FM, DHammiam on YouTube, and Racing Roots with Hamm on Facebook. And don't forget to check out my website, DHammiam.com. And Racing Roots with Hamm's coming soon, or RacingRoots.com is coming soon.
Heck, cool.
Yeah,
Coming
working on it.
soon to you.
What was the other one we were talking about the other day?
Websites.
No, there was something where you were doing some exploring or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
artifact hunting.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
you were doing some artifact
History.
hunting, which I was really interested in because I know you do some metal detecting and stuff. I've never really gotten into that. Dale lent me his metal detector once, and we brought it to a lost speedway, and that was kind of fun.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
That's what I would love to do. So if you ever have one that you need metal detected, then I can come down
you're
there.
my guy.
Yes.
And David's got a
History.
little GoPro he straps onto his head and films it all.
I do.
Well, yeah, he has like Hamm discovers history or
Yes.
something.
It's-
I was telling him it should be History Hamm.
That's what I did.
You did?
I'm
Sweet.
sorry. My wife
You
is.
you trumped me.
Well,
Oh, I did? Because I just like the catchiness of he could be a ham,
yes.
and he's ham.
Yeah.
So he's
Well,
History
he is.
Ham.
Yeah, he
I'm
is.
a ham about history.
History. So he's History Ham, man.
Yeah.
Hamming it up with history.
No, too many words.
That's too many words there. I agree.
Okay,
That's-
History
all right,
Ham,
all
man.
right, oh, fine. David, I'm going
it
to
just
cry.
flows. I'm sorry, Phil.
Listen,
No,
you're right 90% of the time, Phil.
No, but 10% hurts.
All right, so we had our friend Richard Coleman join us.
Richard's in the house.
Yeah.
Richard, future county commissioner.
Easy now. He's
up somewhere.
He's looking for votes. He's in here shaking hands and
get
kissing
some votes here.
babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I thought it was kissing hands, shaking babies.
No.
See, that's what the current administration in Washington's got backwards.
Yeah. Ooh, I know who I'm voting for. You're the man, Richard. Yep.
Yeah, so you were over at the Lake Mountain Coffee.
Yeah, we were just having us a little meeting over there to work on getting the vote out, getting some registered voters out there. There's a lot of new people to the community with everybody that's bailing out of the blue states. So make sure that we get those people taken care of and registered on the right side of the
Amen, brother. Amen.
Now, did you happen to hear Harold Johnson last week?
Oh my God!
So I was closing out the show. It was about 8:30.
Howard Johnson?
Harold.
Oh, okay.
So
Howard Johnson was right.
Harold Johnson. I was closing out the show, and then Phil starts bringing up politics again.
I know. Somebody said to me, "Boy, David was getting mad at you." I'm like, "Well, that's what Harold is about, though. That's the best part of him is to trigger him a little bit about politics." He starts going.
Oh my gosh! He
it was awesome.
Fired.
It was awesome. Mike McLaughlin watched it, and he laughed. I said, well, you just laugh because you're never coming on the show.
Yeah.
We'll never have room for Mike McLaughlin. We just don't.
We done asked him too many times.
One of the most popular questions that you get when you're running for office is, what made you get into politics, or, what makes you think that you'd be good at politics? And I always just tell them, well, I worked in racing for 15 years and I grew up in it, so it doesn't get much more political.
Yeah, right. You were competing against 42 other.
Well, that was when you got to the national level. That doesn't even count the short track, local politics you have to deal with when you're racing.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's good to see you, man.
It was. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you. Keep up the great work on that show.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Great to see you. It's cool how many people in racing you see, that are kind of out of racing sometimes too and whatnot, but living a great life,
Yeah. I always say there's life outside of racing, but what I wanted to do, I didn't really want to get out of racing. I wanted to get out of the daily grind, I guess, and being stuck inside. I didn't see the sunshine half of the day. I mean, or some days I didn't see the sun at all. And it was almost, getting to that point. I'd put in my 25 years, but I just wanted to move on. But I still wanted to stay doing something that was tied to it. So that's what I'm doing. And,
I'm not crying, by the way. If you see me on video, my eyes watering like crazy here.
I was
because
asking
I miss Phil Cavalli so much that
right.
I'm just tears
just
just
delusional.
Down. It's just I look over there and I see him, and it's just absolutely
memory rolling through the pages.
Hold on, did you say memories or memory? Anyway, I feel that way every Monday. So whenever I was talking to you earlier, or texting, and I said something about Charlotte Speedway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I asked you if you knew where this racetrack was, and of course,
yeah.
You got a map.
Yeah, man. I mean, there was a lot of speedways in Charlotte too, because there was the board track,
North
too.
Town.
Yep, and then Southern States Fairgrounds, which is Sugar Creek and Tryon.
Yeah.
But
that's one I was talking about.
What was interesting too, like I actually was like, oh yeah, that first. Strictly stock race. So the race fans that don't know, NASCAR started in 1948, blah, blah, blah. But it really started with modifieds. The strictly stock division didn't come to the, what we now know as the Cup Series until the next year. Mm-hmm. So that was the first ever strictly stock race. And they have a marker, like if you drive to the airport there's a little marker for it. So at least there's something there. So, which is cool. But
and I didn't realize that because, I passed by there, I don't know how many thousands of times.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked right there on Little Rock Road. I worked at the Shoney's.
Oh, really?
And the Holiday Inn was historic in its own right. The drivers would stay there when they were in Charlotte. But that Speedway, somewhere on the corner, it was like
Cup race ever. Jim Roper.
It was like Allison's Trucking was there years later, and I always wondered if they were kin to Donnie and Dave or any of.
What I think is cool about that race too, like I'm a big fan of the Hudson Motor Company.
Yeah,
and I named my son Hudson.
Yeah. Okay,
and like. Everybody talks about the great history, like 79 wins or whatever with the Hudson Hornet, the Hudson car, not just the Hornet itself as far as, the Hudson Hornet factory team. But, I think the first NASCAR sanctioned race with a Hudson in it was actually that race in 49 too.
Okay.
So I forgot the last name now, and Bob Flock were in Hudson's that race.
Wow. Okay.
Which I always love that little stuff because everybody thinks of, the Hudson Hornets first win in 51 or whatever, but,
Yeah.
Herb Thomas still has one
winning percentages of all time. Yep.
Yep.
We went into it in great detail there too, and season 2 there when we did
the championship.
When we did Shelby,
he got turned.
Yeah, when we did Shelby and the Cleveland County Fairgrounds, that's like a story that we leaned into this year. And at first we weren't going to do Cleveland County Fairgrounds. There's not like this great, incredible trace of the track left, but the story. To Dale and I and Mike Davis, once you get deep into the story, you realize here's a story that the common race fan, and I'm not trying to say that we're uncommon because we study history and stuff. I'm not saying that, but like the normal race fan is not educated to, is not privy to, is not, aware of this moment in history. And here's your Jeff Gordon of the era.
Yeah.
Here's your superstar of NASCAR, your first superstar really of NASCAR. And, whatever side you believe, whether it was wrongly taken out or just a racing accident, something smelled a little fishy with how he was taken out of the championship. And, we surmise that we're racers. Nobody's going to try to hurt anybody. These guys are all, friendly away from the racetrack, but that crash didn't just end the championship for Herb Thomas that year, almost ended his life and pretty much ended his career. And that's just
Kiefer kind of folded after that. So
Key Caver left the sport after that. He was taking so much the car owner. He was like the, I guess
he
you'd
was
say
the
like
car
the Rick
owner of the
Hendrick.
car that turned him.
Yes,
so it wasn't,
And Herb had driven for him previously that year. And all of a sudden, Herb Thomas leaves the team, and here's his car with Buck Baker running second in the points. They don't have enough races to catch him. So he actually puts up money to the Cleveland County Fairgrounds and lobbies for adding a race towards the end of the season. And in that race, this controversial incident happens that almost ends his life and takes the championship away. And we got deep into the story. And the cool thing about it is 1956, you're sitting there looking and going, all right, 1956, what driver? No, that person, no, that person. I'm like, wait a minute. Brownie King is still alive.
Yeah.
So I found out a contact, I think through Phil Combs, the great historian here in North Carolina, and just called Brownie King. And he picked up. And I'm like a little kid. I'm just thinking this is cool, right? I could call Jimmy Johnson tomorrow, right? And like great dude and all that, regular guy. But like when you call some of these legends, I gotta admit, it's a little. I'm a little like, this calling a Johnny Rutherford out of the blue is kind of a little like, whoa. Yeah. But like, call Brownie. And I just start talking to him, telling him who I am. And within a few minutes, I just ask him about that race. Boom. He not only was there, he saw it with his own eyes. And he had this incredible recollection. And it just brought the whole show to life. And it was just a magical thing how it happened.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. For you all that are listening, that's on Peacock. You can get that free. You can go online on Peacock, and it's Lost Speedways.
Season 2. Season 2's been out now since July.
I binge watched it
8
like
episodes.
in a day or two. It was done.
See, that's the kind of stuff that I love. And I had an idea for we were talking about history Hamm.
Yeah.
And I had an idea for it because I know how to trace back and see who lived in the house. Like I find old home sites.
Okay.
Who lived in that house and, where it is on the map and all that kind of, and I can go back and look through old census records. And then I can go into the heritage, and there's these old heritage series books that I can find stories that were told about families, and just put a name to the wood stove pieces that I find or the bricks that I find. So in other words, that's the same thing.
That's pretty cool. It's archaeology. If you really think about it, it's modern day archaeology.
Yep.
You think of archaeology as like dinosaur bones, right?
Yeah.
But our history as Americans is as far as us Americans, not the Native Americans, is a rather short history. But, these tools now we have to go back and really figure out these things are intriguing, but it's not easy to do.
I'm the same thing. It's the same way with the NASCAR history stuff. I got so many books, and then like seeing old tracks, and even passing by that track a lot of times. I also, right down the street was Parrott's junkyard. And I always wondered if they were kin to Buddy Parrott, Yeah. And then Buddy worked not too far down the street. But it seemed like I asked Brad about that before, and he's like, no, they wasn't kin, but you never know. But anyway, and I saw Waddell Wilson down at the restaurant right down the street, keep going down 74 Wilkins Boulevard at the Riverview Inn.
Okay.
And Waddell Wilson was there when we had our high school football banquet, where we were getting watches, and I saw Waddell Wilson over there in 87.
Nice.
But I knew who he was because I'm like,
well, half of Charlotte knew who he was back then. Now Charlotte is not
I was 16.
Charlotte's different, man.
16 or 17.
So you were 16, 17 growing up in Charlotte, and Charlotte was a racing town.
Yes, it was. That was racing back in the day.
We're the headquarters of racing because all the teams live here, and the Hall of Fame is here, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But think about it, man. I got off an airplane earlier this year on a Saturday night, and I think I landed at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Maybe, and then by the time I got my bags, like 8:39, I thought to myself, man, I didn't have my family with me. I'm like, man, I'd like to go to a race. And then I was thinking to myself, man, where do you go? It's gone.
Yeah.
Like there's Concord, Bruton's places, those gems of diamonds of racetracks there, Concord right around the block from where I live.
Yeah.
But in Charlotte proper, there's nothing anymore.
I grew up going to
Gray.
I grew up going
but that's Winston-Salem.
Right,
you've got a place in
closest.
Gastonia.
Yeah.
You've got, a Carolina
Cherokee.
Speedway and Cherokee and Gaffney, and you might have Millbridge up here, but as far as Charlotte proper, no longer has a racetrack. How crazy is that? Have you ever thought about that? That's nuts.
Yeah. And so I like how they inside the airport, they do recognize some of the racing history.
Yeah.
They got the little restaurant and stuff in there. And like you said, the sign, but there's, yeah, you're right though. If you think about it,
it's weird.
It's got, I guess, because the city has started growing, and it's like, well, they used to have. We had a baseball. We had the O's Crockett Park when I was a kid. It was It was a Charlotte Orioles farm team, or whatever you call it.
Okay.
And it was, and it burned down. It was all wood, and it burned down. It was historic. Somebody set it on fire and burned it down.
The gambling house.
So they never did rebuild.
By the way, my map guy, my friend Kyle Rizak, texted me.
Yeah.
He said the actual map, the new map that we just did, has 4,447 tracks on it. So we have some active ones too. We have a whole thread with that, but 1,402 lost ovals with remains, 1,336 lost ovals without remains, 151 lost circuits, that's road courses, 171 drag strips, 76 lost indoor ovals, and only 911 active ovals in North America.
Wow.
That is significantly down.
I think you got 43 more seasons coming up.
Dude, I mean, yeah.
That's a drag
Looks
strip.
like a guaranteed 47.
Which one? Shuffletown?
Yeah.
We grew up right down the street from it.
How about Maple Grove in Waterloo?
Oh, I never got to go there, but, hey, Waterloo.
Yeah, it's still there.
Magic Mike.
They run horses around it. I went around it back in the 80s during a bachelor party that I got drunk and put a bunch of guys in my car, and we went around the course a couple times and drove out.
I just yesterday found out that I'm going to be in a wedding party of my great friend Rob, and they just told me today the bachelor party is going to be at Daytona in August.
Wow.
Oh Lord.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Lord.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
I don't know how this is going to work out.
I was going to say
this could be incredible or disastrous. Or both.
Just don't drink a lot.
Or it could be something you totally forget.
Exactly.
Hydrate.
I'll be hydrating.
Yep. You'll be driving everybody home.
Yeah, exactly. The old man here.
And that's where my buddy Beer Man lives down there. Scott Trevison. So
and he's tuned in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Scott. He said he asked a question. Actually, did you see that?
I did not, but I do see another question that I can ask.
Go for it.
Okay, so speaking of the Bowman Gray Stadium, Andrew Higginbotham says, ask him about his first race commentary gig at Bowman Gray Stadium for Track Pass.
Oh, boy. I got a chance to announce for Track Pass this year at Bowman Gray Stadium. So if you're watching the show and you don't know Bowman Gray Stadium, it's one of the great historic racetracks in America.
Yes.
Quarter-mile oval, flat, around a football field. The most action you'll ever see in a few-hour program, and it's only $12 to get in, man.
Chain racing.
It's crazy, man. Like, I've raced there, too, and it's insane.
Yeah.
So I got the opportunity to call a race. I've never done play-by-play for a race before, except for some radio things every once in a while, but I've never done TV play-by-play, and it was the most fun thing I've ever done. Like, I know it sounds nuts. The Lost Speedways thing is my dream, literally my dream come true.
Sure.
But I had so much fun. I was up there with Jesse Punch, Jerry Punch's daughter, and he's referring to, there was a play-by-play call. Okay. the mini stocks come out to like end the night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stadium stocks, they call them. I raced in that division. It's probably one of the most fun divisions there.
Yeah.
Well, out on the track comes a car that hasn't been there in years. And it's half Mustang, half Pinto. It's called the Pintang.
Oh.
That's
And
what
it's
it
a
says. I didn't know what
beloved
that
it's a
meant.
beloved race car. It's kind of rusty and purposely looks just grungy.
Yeah.
Well, he's in like fourth, this guy, right? The Pintang. We already set up that he's the Pintang, so people know if I say Pintang that it's the proper terminology. And the leaders get into it coming around the final corner. And the Pintang hops on the inside, 3 wide across the start-finish line, wrecking the Pintang wins. And I lost my damn mind. Like, I'm not a play-by-play guy. I was like, Pintang!
Is that kind of like your boss's slide job?
And we laugh. Oh, man, we laugh so hard. And I've never had more fun. And, like, I hope to God that, like, they'll be nice enough to invite me back to maybe call a race or two or something on Track Pass again, because that was so much fun and I really enjoyed it.
You need to have a T-shirt made up that says, I called the Pintang win.
Hey, ironically, today, I just had this because I just literally brought this from work. I had on eBay, I got a postcard of the old Bowman Gray Stadium.
Oh, wow.
From back in its early days. I don't know if you could see that on any of the camera shots.
Right here.
But that's an old postcard
kind of
of
what it looks
the
like
stadium.
now.
Wake Forest played there originally. There's great history about this place too, because R.J. Reynolds, executive, was named Bowman Gray, and when he passed away, his wife donated the land to construct Bowman Gray Stadium. So that's why it was called originally Bowman Gray Memorial Stadium.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And thus, a few years later, great racing history started with midgets, and then it kind of faltered, and Bill France saw an opportunity, and it was the first weekly track that Bill France promoted.
Do you think there's probably an awful lot of similarity between that track and the LA Coliseum then, right?
Probably. I haven't seen the schematics of how they're doing the track. I know Bowman Gray doesn't have banking. Actually, in one turn, I think it has like 1 degree or something like that, but it used to be off camber. But yeah, it's a quarter mile around a football field. People say, hey, they should have given that race to Bowman Gray.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The guy sitting here would like that because I love Bowman Gray, but Bowman Gray is only 16,900 seats. The LA Coliseum thing, a lot of us think it's a little nutty that we're going out there with a new car at the beginning of the season. The teams are taxed, all this stuff. But the frosted side of my mini wheat also looks at the fact that they're trying something. That's a big swing, man. And I'm sorry, just from the history standpoint, that's cool as hell. And I'm not trying to toe the company line because I don't work for NASCAR anymore.
Right.
But how cool is it? Like, just take away the noise, man, and think about the fact that who cares about some of this noise? We're going to see cup-level cars and cup-level stars racing on a quarter-mile oval around a dang football field with a ton of fans. Who the heck cares about everything else?
Right.
All these whiners on the internet that this bad, everything's doom and gloom.
Yeah.
All right, take it all away. I'm a doom and gloom guy sometimes about our sport, but man, this is going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Can't please everybody either way.
No.
I used to see the Goodies Dash series go 3 wide at Bowman Gray.
Yeah.
Those are subcompact cars.
Mickey Gibbs and
Those are subcompact cars. I couldn't imagine.
So Scott's, sorry, I can't hardly hear.
Oh, the big boats when they used to race there.
Wow.
Yes.
But they did.
They did, man. Those big old flathead Ford modifieds back in the day. You look at film of that, that's incredible.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I just put a mint in my mouth.
Oh, that's okay. Hey,
That's okay.
You're very minty.
All right. Sorry, Justin St. Louis says, let's hear about Matt's driving career.
Oh,
We ran a 3-car coupe race together on the Lost Speedway dirt track at New Hampshire once.
Was it Bear Ridge? Where was the name of that place? No.
Starts with a C. Canaan or
Canaan. Canaan Fairgrounds Speedway. That's right. First time in a dirt modified of any type, and I was scared to death. The darn shifter was right between my legs, and then I'm like, how am I going to get the clutch? He goes, grab the brake. How do I get the brake? Because I can't get my leg down there. And he goes, grab the bar. I'm like, what are you talking about? It had a big old bar to the left. So you go into the turn, and you
Breaker
you
bar.
grab you some brake. and then get in the gas and start throttling. I was scared shitless, but excuse me.
I'm sure.
But all I know is the racing career. I don't know, man. I always thought to myself when I was a kid, I wanted to be the president of the United States of America, or a race car driver. So I didn't get to become a professional race car driver. My brother, when he got his first contract with bigger contract with Speed, he bought a street stock or two. You know, I dabbled in a little Legends racing, some street stock racing, and I always said if I get the chance to race once, I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know, now my goal is okay, this is going to be really geeky, but I'm going to say it. So when I was a kid, I had this photo album and it had my dad's race cars in it. My dad and my uncle raced at Islip Speedway, my home track that meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And I looked at that picture of my dad and I put it on everything that I have. You know, it's my dad holding the checkered flag, and he's in there with an open face helmet and T-shirt on. And
that's a proud moment for you.
It's proud. When I was a kid, that picture, that photo meant the world to me. You know, it literally meant the world to me, that photo, because I love the sport, and that was my dad. And now I think about it, and I've been blessed to race a little, but I've got a new itch. And once I get my house fixed and all the responsibilities done, because that comes first. That's what my father taught me, you know, by leaving racing.
Yeah.
He took care of his family, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to take care of my family and feed them and fix my house and do all sorts of stuff. But I'm telling you, I don't care if I'm 60 years old. I'm going to race once in front of my kid. You know, I want him to be able to see his dad race, even if I suck. You know, I want him to be able to see that, because I didn't get to see my dad race. And I've got a thing. I think I should wait maybe a few more years, Phil, because he's 6 right now. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I want him to be old enough to remember it, but not give a darn if I suck.
Right.
Just saying.
That's a good theory.
Hey, along with that itch, you know what you need to take care of that itch? More cowbell.
Hey, you could always
more cowbell.
Yeah, you could always use some more cowbell, man.
So, in the honor of the beer man, give us a Sterling Marlin story. Well, something that is PG that you can talk about. That's the immediate reaction.
I've got the greatest Sterling Marlin story, but I don't know if I could say it.
Well,
yeah, you don't know.
Sure, you can.
Okay, Krista Voda, if you're listening, I love you.
Krista's a sweetheart.
I love Krista.
God, I love
and her husband, BK Phil.
Tractor boy.
Yes. Red-blooded binder. Great people. Krista, I got to know her when she was a local reporter in Kentucky. Anyway, fast forward, we're working for Totally NASCAR. We get sent on this Coors Light booze cruise is what we called it. It was this Coors Light cruise ship. And we're there with Sterling and his entire team and some family and some racing personalities and a bunch of fans that paid to go on this trip. When you're with Sterling Marlin, I learned quickly, you drink a lot of beer. So let's just say we went to port in some town in Mexico. I was so, you know, I don't know where it was. It could have been Guam. I don't know where I was. We get out and we go to get something to eat. Because, I mean, we're hammered. And we go get something to eat, and then we just start drinking there. And next thing you know, oh, man, we got to get back. The boat's leaving. They said the boat leaves without us at this time, and it's almost there. So we all hop in all these different cabs in Mexico. I don't know where I'm at. I just hop in with, I think it was Sterling's, like, brother or something, and we get back, and Jen Leedy, who was working with NASCAR eventually, but he was working with Sterling, she was like the mother hen. She was like, had the list, and they're about ready to close this boat, and she's writing down everybody. And I come in through the area with all the souvenirs and stuff, and I'm like, all right, I'm here. And she's like, where's Voda? And Voda was my teammate. It was her and I. She was my colleague. We had each other's back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, she didn't come in yet? And she's like, no. I'm like, oh, no. Where'd you see her last? And we're like, we were at the restaurant together. Did she get in the cab with you? I don't know. Everybody else is on the boat. They're yelling, we're going to close the boat. We're closing the boat. So they're like, no, you get on. I'm like, no, I'm not getting on without Krista. She's my girl. She's my teammate. I'm not getting on. Leedy's like, get on the boat. I'm like, I'm not getting on the boat. Next thing you know, long story short, I say, I'm sorry. I'm not leaving without her. I go walking out into the souvenir area towards the street. I walk out about, a few minutes.
Yeah.
I'm out on the street, and they're closing the door.
And she's waving to you from the boat.
She's closing the door, and I'm thinking to myself, and obviously I'm very overserved at this point, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna be Mexican now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be from here. This is now my home.
Hey, gringo.
And then, as soon as I thought this is gonna be my home, a cab pulls up.
Oh, wow.
And Krista steps out, and I'm like, Krista. She's like, Maddie. I'm like, let's go. They already had the door almost shut. And we're running like a Hollywood movie. There was no flames behind us. That would have been awesome. But I picture that in my head.
Yeah.
We're running to make this boat, and they agreed to let the boat door back down and let us on. But yeah, that's my best. If you get so drunk that you almost stay in Mexico, that's a Sterling Marlin story.
Or that you chose to.
Well, yeah, I wasn't leaving her behind. No man or woman left behind.
Well, that's noble. That's very good.
I got a Sterling Marlin story from Bobby Hillen Jr. because I had invited him to the thing they're having, and he says, I won't be able to make it. He says, but I have a great Sterling Marlin story. Is one time when he was crashed out of the race, and he was referring to Ernie Irvan. He said, he was coming through the field like a drunk looking for a liquor store.
Sterling. I'll never forget him one time, sitting without a shirt. I think we were at Darlington, and he's sitting without his shirt on, his suit on, doing an interview with us. And it was just like, oh, man, come on, put on your suit. But it was hot. Southern 500, man, those things were no joke. And I remember he's in the middle of a sound bite. He stopped. He's like, hold on. And he blew out a little snot rocket.
Country is country.
God, I love him.
Yep.
Yeah, Sterling's great. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. So, what did Scott say? Please ask Matt if he has heard of the Gene Granger.
You're jumping my questions, but okay.
No, you said you didn't.
Oh, the boss has spoken.
Gene Granger.
You said you didn't.
You remember Gene Granger, the statistician?
Trying to go in order.
And as Smoke said, he's up in Wilkesboro tuning in.
Oh.
All right, go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, so Randy Hamm wants to know how you and Dale, your paths crossed.
Oh, that's a great question.
So that's my Uncle Randy, and he's such a huge Dale Earnhardt fan. Yeah, that he had a picture of him on his wall. I guess that's how I see. He's such a big fan.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, our paths crossed. Actually, we were both working in the sport, and we came in. I think we came in the same year, like into NASCAR. Because I remember my first Cup races and Busch Series races and whatnot I worked was 98. Yeah. That was his rookie year. Mm-hmm. But we didn't hang in the same circles. Like I go to the college bar in University area, North Carolina, and him and his boys would be over there. Mm-hmm. Me and my guys might be over here, but we kind of seen each other. But you see each other at the racetrack and you develop a respect. There was times where we never really talked. We weren't friends. Mm-hmm. But we knew each other, and I think we developed a mutual respect. I respected him as a racer, but I also respected how he handled himself. Mm-hmm. Seeing some things like his last year, the last year I was covering him in his last year race, and I remember one time seeing him, a little boy that was standing in the back of the garage crying, mm-hmm. and he brought the little boy in the garage and put his arm around him and consoled him, and I captured the moment on a garage cam, and I grew a lot of respect for him. And I thought what he was doing in the sport, too, setting himself up beyond racing was something really special. Yeah. And he all of a sudden, like one of the last years I was working, he kind of tripped on Lost Speedways, the stuff I was doing on Facebook and the social media and whatnot on the website. Mm-hmm. And he was like, hey, man, I really like that stuff you're doing. It's cool. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man. And he's like, hey, take down my number, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, dude's texting me. I was at Daytona, I think, and I was I rented a motor coach for my wife and I to stay and do the whole week, in Daytona. It was really cool. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and next thing you know, he's adding me to all these groups and history groups and messages and photo shares, and I'm like, okay, man, this is cool. And we just found out that we had a lot in common, mm-hmm. And then it was really neat because when I didn't have a way to feed my family, he and Mike gave me an opportunity to, mm-hmm. but I think that was because of an established respect. I hope, that's what I would assume, because we worked around each other and we knew how we operated, you know, and I knew how Mike operated, you know, being a PR guy a long time and working with him, that he was a respectful human, you know, and same with Dale. You know, I had a lot of admiration for who he became in the sport. You know, at first he was a little wild and all this stuff. We all were. Yeah. But, you know, how he carried himself, especially towards the end of his career, I thought was really special. And then all the things he was going through at the time. Yeah, he grew up quick. To carry himself the way he did at the end of his career was something that I'll always admire about him. So yeah, because there's if you look at it, there's a lot of, let's say, driver sons that start out trying to do the driving thing, whatever, and then they just kind of go off deep end drugs or just different things like that. But he's actually taken something, you know, he did the driving, he's won races. And championships. Yeah, I was there 98, 99, I believe it was. Busch Series. Yeah. And when we won, I was with Nemechek's. I would jack the Busch car when we had mutual races. Cup for Sterling, Busch for Nemechek. Yeah, and we won. The Bell South, the red and white 87 or what? Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was red, white, or it was blue and white. It was different, you know, the Bell South. And we won in 99. And Junior we just won the championship that same race. Nice. So we go to the winner's circle. And then Tony Uri gave me a hug and said, "How's it feel?" That's right, because you guys won. Yes, I remember that now. But you didn't see much about it because it was all about. Yeah, it was all about the championship. It was like they go to victory lane for the climb out, a quick one question. Then it was like back to the. And the cool thing was like that was the second year or the first one. That was the second one. Second one. When Junior won his second championship. The first one, I don't think I've ever told this story. The first one, this is crazy. He wins the championship. I think it was the first one, and they they had a truck waiting for him, like a pickup truck, and him, Teresa, Dale, Dale Senior, all were to get in the pickup truck and do a parade lap around the racetrack. Okay. Well, there was supposed to be the live camera and a still photographer that was in the back cab of the truck to shoot, and then the live camera would be in the back bed with them. Well, me, brash old New Yorker, punk kid, just kind of working in the sport, was like, heck, I'm going to sneak on up there. So I snuck up when the NASCAR PR folk wasn't looking. Yeah. And I kind of crouched down like in the corner of the truck like this, like not paying attention. And they all start getting on. Senior gets on. He sits on the deal right there's Teresa. And then all of a sudden Dale gets on. They're like, come on, go. So the thing takes off, and as they're taking off, you hear the NASCAR PR guy, whoa, 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 who's that guy? Who's that guy? So I did the whole parade lap, shoot this beautiful, glorious shot, man, of Dale Jr. going around and his dad and stuff, enjoying that first championship moment. So I've never really, I don't even know if I've told Dale that. But I was going to ask if he told him that. I bet you if we look at the freeze frames of that on TV, you'll see my skinny little butt, sitting there with the big camera shooting up. That's neat. I was there when he led his first lap at Concord Speedway. Nice. And then Kelly was running right behind him. And I kept my ticket stub. I got it somewhere. I think it's like 1990, 91, something like that. Okay. But then the rest of the story about me, we won the race, and then passed Tony Uri, and he come up, gave me a hug and said, "How's it feel, man?" I said, "Well, how's it feel for you to win another championship?" And you know how many times he won with Earnhardt Sr. Gosh, what Tony Uri did. I mean, how many races they won at Daytona and all. But yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's a great story you got there. That's cool. Yeah, it's funny to even think about that stuff now. Yeah. How far I mean, he's come. We're on the the dawn of him becoming a NASCAR Hall of Famer. Yeah. And to think about that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And I know how much he respects that. Initially he thought he wasn't going to make it in his first time around, and I think he underestimates himself. There's some people out there to go, wow, his stats don't, it's probably make him a first-time Hall of Famer, and he's humble about that. Yeah. But what he's doing in the sport right now, I think holds a lot of value. Mm-hmm. He's still one of the top superstars of our sport, and he's out of the race car. Yeah, exactly. He didn't walk away and just cash in and walk away. What he's doing for the sport right now, and I'm not saying this because he's my boss. Yeah. He could fire me tomorrow. I'd say the same thing. I hope he doesn't. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, what he's doing for the sport right now. Yeah. I mean, look at the podcast, man. We had a Brandon Marshall on this year, and Cole Swindell, and he's had all these different people from different walks of life. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. He brings a cross section of notoriety and fame to motorsport. He brings eyes to motorsports even out of the race car, which I don't know if he ever expected that would happen. You know, he went into the broadcasting career, honestly, very humble. And I think what he's doing right now, he is more special than he realizes. And I think someday, 20 years from now, how we look back at, you know, I look back with such admiration to Buddy Baker because I got to know him very well, you know, in the TNN years and when he was doing ASA with my brother. But like, I think we're going to look back with great admiration to Dale Jr.'s contributions to the sport outside of the race car. And that's a reason he should be in that hall.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. I like what he's doing. I've been a fan of this stuff, you know, and then like you said, though, you look ahead, let's say 5 or 10 years from now, and this stuff's going to be a lot of people that he's doing the shows with, and the ones I have in here too are not going to be around. I mean,
you're
not going to be around, and that stuff's going to be priceless. You know, it's documenting history. Yeah. But he's putting it out to a lot more people, obviously. So. Yeah. I mean, you can't take life for granted. Yeah. You know, and you know, we had Danny on this year, Danny Earnhardt, and I knew it was special when we did it, but I didn't realize how special it would be now. Sure. We had Martha on the other year, and man, I just remember like during the interview, just listening to them talk and thinking, man, this is going to be cool because I still have a few recordings of my grandmother and my grandfather where I can go back and I can hear their voice. Yeah. You know, there's something about hearing somebody's voice, you know, other than the photographs that are beautiful and this and that. And he'll forever have that conversation between him and his grandma, you know, and Mike. And that's a special thing now that we can look back on, you know, and with pride. Yeah. And for me, like who's like a micro part of, you know, that show, I could look back with pride too, knowing that, hey, we captured that for that family. Yeah. So for sure. That's why I said even this show is great, trying to get like, you know, the Tommy Houston and his grandkid. And, well, it's great because you're on it, brother. No, it's Phil Cavalli too, man. I mean, you know. But I mean, it's living legend. Being a YouTube channel, it's eternal. You know what I mean? Hamm, have you ever done just straight up Cavalli stories? Like we just have tell random stories because they're good. I brought 50 photographs in to show them all off. So. There you go. Yeah, the first time he was showing them to the camera. The second time I had loaded in and we were doing them. And I also put together another video, and he sent me some footage of one where he was at Homestead, where there's a hole in the fence that's not there anymore. Oh yeah. And did you use your cell phone or something with that? Yeah, cell phone. Yeah. You know how the cars go. You know when you're outside. Oh yeah, I've done that a few times. Halfway down the back. I've never stuck my cell phone through the fence to get that. No, never. Never crossed that bridge. Never. Never. That's what's. I mean, when you were talking about how you miss being at the track. Yeah, that's. If you notice in the last 5 years how strict that upper echelon has gotten with us. Yeah, it's a whole new breed that's come in, and they don't. Well, you know, I hate to say this, but there's a breed of people that work sometimes within a sport that come from the salt of the earth part of the sport. Yeah, you know, and there's some incredible creative minds that work in the sport right now. Yeah. But you know, there's also a lot less. Sometimes there's a lot less racing people that came from the short tracks. Yeah, you know? Right. Yeah. So true. But that's what I like about this show. Like what I'm being on the show, it's funny because you come on here and I think I'm going to get interviewed and all this stuff. But like, it's just sharing stories. Yeah, getting to know your, you know, where you came from in the sport, knowing you as a jackman and all that stuff, but getting to know that you have a connection to the sport too. You know, things like that. That matters. Everybody, you know, I don't care. It's just like doing Garage Cam. You know, there was times where they wanted me to not cover the back half of the garage. I'll be honest with you. I got sat down and talked about it. And I was like, no, those people, those are stories that nobody's telling. Yeah. True. And those stories are great. So everybody has a story, you know, like every racetrack. I don't care if we talked about Nazareth, right? That's a significant racetrack in motorsports history. But we just did a episode on a place called Arundel Speedway in Maine. Okay. And I had a friend from New England, not you, Justin St. Louis, but I had a friend of mine in New England say, "Oh, you went to New England? What track did you do?" And I went, "Arundel Speedway." And he went, "What?" And I was like, yes. Yeah. Because it was like the littlest racetrack that you think is insignificant sometimes has the greatest stories.
And that track, the way you guys tied that into the 3 or 4 track, the 3 that were competing, and then the one Star Speedway, was it?
They built Star Speedway, because of it.
Yeah.
But
that's a great episode.
It's a wild episode. You know, the plot turn and the plot twist.
Talking about how the guy came in and punched out the thing and counted out his money and left.
Punched out the promoter.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. You know, you can judge a book by its cover. You know, I mean, even with me, selfishly, my career, you know, Phil and I were grunt workers. Basically, we were grunt working in the garage, in the trenches, on the outside of these racetracks, getting spit in the face by you know, rubber and pieces of the asphalt.
Loving every minute
of it. But we were working. Okay, that's work, man. But you know, even my story, having the opportunities that I've had, it's incredible. Like a guy like me to have that, you know, well, it's the same thing. These racetracks, you know, some of these racetracks are never see a lick of exposure in the mainstream. Nobody knows their story.
And they were huge.
And everyone has a
birth
story
of it.
for, even if it's insignificant, there's some sort of story that's just captivating.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. That's it. I know exactly what you mean. I'm with you there exactly too. My buddy, Sheriff Darren Campbell had said, he was going to watch the show, so we'll say hey to him.
What's up, Sheriff?
And let me get back to Scott's question.
Told him to come back sometime. Yeah, right quick. Let me mention this because we were talking about history and living down in Charlotte. My dad's told me many times that he used to get on the Buck Baker's bus, the city bus. He drove a city bus, and he would take them down to the mall or wherever, and then come back and pick them up later and drop them back off at the house.
No way.
Yeah. So how cool is that down there in Charlotte?
That's
down
awesome.
off of Freedom Drive, kind of in Glenwood area.
Yep.
And then whenever, go ahead and ask Scott's question because I had one more thing that we were going to talk about.
Scott says, please ask Matt if he has heard of Gene Granger, NASCAR historian, newspaper writer from Spartanburg, South Carolina. He helped him with his NASCAR trivia game back in '92.
Yeah, I've heard the name for sure. I never got a chance to.
He was always a statistician. Yep. He knew every stat about NASCAR. Yep. He was amazing.
All those guys are like the people that led us to be able to do what we do. You know, think about it. You know, I'm having a total brain fart right now, but what were the books? The blue books. The NASCAR blue books, the history books, 40 years of stock car racing.
Oh, yeah. I've got
Greg Felden. Greg
Okay,
Felden was another one who was a statistician. Statistician on the TV side as well. And he wrote those incredible books, right? That so much NASCAR history has been captured in that other people have used as an incredible resource. And I got to meet him this year.
Oh, wow.
I got to go to his house, Greg Felden, and he's probably like, you know, like, who's this guy coming or whatever, but he treated me like gold coming in there, and I'm just like in awe because this is one of the GOATs. This is, you know, for research guys, this is one of the guys that inspired people like myself, my friend Bobby Marcos, others to look into stories and statistics and look into the past. You know, you open those books, right? And you'd be like, oh, what's this story? You know, the curiosity of being a child, even a child now at, 45 years old, I still have that curiosity when I, I got this off of eBay, this Oswego Speedway, Port City 200 program. I just remember having this program as a kid, Cavalli. And it had Brett Bodine, Sherry Cup modified, and Bentley Warren's Flying 5 on top of it. Yeah. And I remember when I was a kid, I cut the pictures out. So I wanted a new version of it so I could read it. But just today in the studio, we were setting up a shot, and I got this, and I just opened it up, and I started reading and looking at the things from the pictures to the advertisements, like to Ponderosa Steakhouse, where we used to go for a cheap dinner because we couldn't afford good food when we went to the races. Yeah, we get that old shop steak dinner. But just all the old pictures that are in it. You open pages like this when you're a kid and you're captivated, right?
Right, yeah.
I'm 45 years old. I still am, you know?
So, all right. So I have a bunch of those souvenir magazines, but they're from Charlotte, Rockingham, Darlington.
Sweet.
And and they're from the late 60s and through the 70s.
Nice.
And the 80s. And then the ones I picked up whenever I would go to the track. But my uncle, Randy, that was tuned in earlier, he worked
the one
for...
that asked a question? Yeah.
Yes, the one that asked a question. He worked for Anderson Press, which was the company that would like buying these...
Programs, okay.
Buying the programs.
Nice.
And he, for some reason, probably around 1981 or 82, he had put them all in a trash bag and set them down at the road.
Oh, no.
No.
So me being nosy.
Uncle Randy.
Yeah, me being nosy, I went down there just looking. I don't know if I ever told him this story, But I opened up the bag and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're throwing all these away. So I took them and I stuffed them up under my bed, and I lived in a mobile home, and I still have them. I know I saved them, and I still have them.
I love you.
Yeah, man.
That's great, man.
Does Uncle Andy know you did this?
He does now if he's still watching.
Yeah.
And
you saved.
I saved them,
saved
and I still have them.
man.
And they're like they're in like mint condition too.
That's great.
Whenever I've seen,
and some people will say, "Well, who cares? Those things were mass produced." But there's going to come a point in time where a lot of that stuff is gone. You know how many people we run into in our archive hunt for some of these shows that a generation goes by and the stuff that's in your closet when you go, the kids don't want to keep it. They don't even care to look at what's in it, or they may not have a connection to it, and it's gone.
Yeah.
We got some film footage from the Plemons family. Dickie Plemons was a racer. That raced in the North Carolina area, modifieds and whatnot, had a car that said Poison Love on it. And Dickie's daughter, Kim Plemons, she found this old box of film, and she gave it to us to see what's on it. And most of it was just like family stuff, like birthdays and whatnot. But man, we found film footage of Ralph Earnhardt in a modified.
Wow.
We found film footage of Bob Presley carving around New Asheville Speedway and them paving the place. It as dirt track, them paving. And then we had talked to Richard Petty about this great race that he and Ned Jarrett had. And you see it in the New Asheville episode where Ned Jarrett knocks the king out of the way to win this race. Uncustomary, to the way Ned Jarrett, the gentleman, would drive.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Like 3 weeks to go before we're going to turn this show in, we're transferring this film. And what do you know? There's a Grand National race on it. And then I'm watching it, and Richard Petty's in the 41 or 42. And then all of a sudden I see Ned Jarrett's Bondy Long number 11 coming alongside of him. It was that race.
Oh,
NASCAR doesn't have that.
No.
Like nobody's ever laid eyes on film of that race. And it was just a home film camera, 8 millimeter. And we were able to unearth it. And man, you want to talk about special?
Yes.
I ran out my backyard on my deck, because this was during pandemic and stuff, and flipped my lid. I was screaming out loud like like the neighbors probably thought I was nuts.
Gosh, you sound so much like me in ways where you think about improving on things, but then you can tie stuff together. That's what it reminds me of when doing film editing and things like that.
But how does that happen? Like, how does that stuff like that happenstance? Like,
I don't know.
I whether you think it's luck or you think it's a thing where, somehow for some reason God's shining down on our effort or whatever it is.
Right.
It's all unbelievable.
Yeah,
man.
it gives you goosebumps, right?
Yeah, it does.
And I know exactly.
Without a doubt,
Yeah. That's good stuff. So one of those magazines I have says he's in the Army now, and it's Dale Earnhardt, probably 77, maybe something like that. Apparently, it's one of his sponsors for that year. Might have been his rookie year. Might have been 78. Well, not his rookie year, but the year that he drove like 5 races or something. But it says he's in the Army now.
Huh.
But looking back through those, and it's like it's almost like you can predict what happened in the future, but you're looking back in time, and you can say, oh yeah, he went on to do this, or oh yeah, this guy, he went on to do this, and that's another thing that's fascinating about learning the history. Is it's like you can, it's like picking up a newspaper. It's like going back in time, like the movies.
Oh, I look at. I got a friend,
those.
Steve Bullard. Who's been a longtime friend down here, and Bullard, man, he listens to all the old MRN broadcasts constantly, all just random races. He's just a great mind, and like. There's times he'll call me or text us, and he'll be like, "Did you know that L.D. Ottinger did this, and this crew chief said this about this, blah blah blah," and it's stuff you'll never know looking at the internet or just some history books.
Yeah,
so it's incredible if you really dig deep what you can really find.
I actually got to do that this year. We're doing it here at the radio station, playing it every Saturday night. So I would do. You're listening to MRN Racing right here on 550 and 92.9 WAME. And then you play.
Did you do your best Barney Hall?
Did
Did you do your best Barney Hall though?
No, I can't be Barney Hall, man. He's probably
for 40 years the voice of NASCAR.
Yeah.
Oh God, that just gives me chills when they have that.
MRN Radio
presenting. Yes.
Presents.
Cody's 500.
That's right, and then the music in the background. I always thought.
Barney, Eli Gold, you know, and then in TV, if you look at the lineage we have had in TV, you know, from Ken Squire, who's like everybody's
Bob
darn
Jenkins,
broadcasting hero, Larry Newberg, or
Mike
even
Jordan.
ESPN with the sprint car races and midget races with the Larry and Larry show. I was always partial to Buddy Baker because I loved his, you know,
little lisp,
his little lisp and the unique things he would say that were to me John Madden-esque.
Right,
okay, we
yeah.
talk about the color of John Madden, how he'd see unusual things. I think sometimes sports and not just racing get a little dry because we get too broadcastery. And that's what I love about Dale too. You know, he's just a regular dude on the mic. You know, he's not trying to be a darn broadcaster. You know, and I think that's kind of special. But you know, those are the type people. Yeah, Benny, exactly. I loved working with Benny, man. Plus, we loved to eat together. We'd sit in the food tent there and have some good food at the racetrack. And he took us out. He was the first person to bring me to Ridgewood Barbecue in Bristol, right near Bristol and Elizabethton. Yep.
Is there any more questions on the YouTubes?
Yes.
Are you back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I got choked on myself.
She missed you so much. She was all choked up.
Choked up.
Hey, I tried to help you out with the dad joke thing, like with the old man joke thing. That was my attempt for you.
I appreciate that. You're trying to say
hey, looking out
his
for you, brother.
body is okay. It doesn't have to be. Anyway, go
it's
ahead.
okay. It's okay to tell a bad joke. I'm with you.
All right, so let's see.
Yes.
The next question is, if you hadn't have gotten the job that you're doing, what would you be doing?
Oh, good question. I've heard Dale get that question all the time, and I love it because he says he'd be changing oil. I don't know, man. You know, I'd be working in racing somehow. As a kid, you know, we didn't have money to race, okay? So
Expensive sport.
Yeah, it's an expensive sport. Unfortunately, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry get the chance to do it, you know, and I wasn't really mechanically inclined. You know, I'll be honest with you. I hate that. But, you know, the reason we got into the media side wasn't to be in the media side. You know, no offense, but I love studying media now because I've been in it for so long. But I worked in news, and I hated it. I worked producing sports. I didn't like that too much, but working in news, let me just tell you something. Working for local news was the hardest stuff I've ever done. It sucked. It sucked.
But you can take what you learned
and apply it. But, you know, when you have to go interview somebody that just lost a relative or a house burnt down and you've got people you're working with, their goal is to make them cry and do all this stuff. It's just a brutal world to live in. And I never got into media to be into media. I'm a racer. I'm a race car nut. You know, I've raced race cars, and my whole life has been racing. I didn't get into TV. I didn't get into any of this stuff to be working in media. I wanted to work in racing. So the answer to that question would be, I don't know.
Yeah.
It would just be whatever I can get into in racing and make a living. And if not, whatever I can make a living that would have Saturdays and Sundays off.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah. So Smoked, he asked the question, why did NASCAR push the moonshiners out of the sport? It killed the storyline, in my opinion, but
push the moonshiners out of the sport, or
glad I got a chance to meet Matthew and chat for a while. Yeah, push the moonshine. I think he's talking about
well, they've definitely buried the moonshine past. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
There was a period of time where NASCAR distanced itself strategically from things like even country music. You know, and now you see that come in full circle.
Yeah.
Where they're back in Nashville. You know, I mean, back in the day, man, country music and NASCAR were together.
Right.
They were like close relatives, and you know, we've gotten away from our moonshining roots. And I remember, you know, it seemed like NASCAR didn't want to talk about that stuff. And I always remembered growing up in the sport thinking like, why? Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
That is the most colorful BA. You know, I don't want to say the word because of FCC, but like the most colorful gangster, awesome like history. And why the heck would you ignore it?
Right. Yeah. The modifications to the car and the engines.
You know, hearing the stories of Raymond Parks. If you've ever read the magnificent book, Driving with the Devil, if you haven't read that book, get that book. It is one of the greatest illustrations of early stock car racing, pre-NASCAR, and moonshining from being a little boy uneducated to learning the moonshine trade, and then learning kind of a gambling ring and some of the illegal activities in the South at that time, Dawson County into Atlanta. and developing that into a world of racing. And it, with Raymond Parks, and that's the most intriguing story and intriguing history that I ever learned probably in the sport. You know, it just opened my eyes to how moonshining and the early days of stock car racing isn't just North Carolina. It isn't just Wilkes County. Dawson County was the other capital of it. And the history over there is just unreal. And I think it's cool right now because we got a Dawson County champion in last year in Chase Elliott. And that's kind of brought a little bit of that North Georgia pride back, because that used to be, in a way, the epicenter of stock car racing was the North Georgia region.
Yeah. So whenever I do some art, we're going back to the history ham.
History ham, I love it, man.
Whenever I found the old moonshine still and start going around there, I'm thinking about the beginnings, the origins of NASCAR, and I'm thinking we're just south of Wilkesboro, where I was at doing my little excavation of the moonshine still. So
you never know who was involved in that,
right?
Because it's not just like, you've got all these characters in early stock car racing that like the mainstream don't know about, the Smokey Purshers or, people like that were just interesting, or, the Roy Halls, or Lloyd Say, all these guys that people just mainstream NASCAR don't know about. If you hear stories of Roy Hall, here's a guy that was arrested so many damn times, and he was like a gangster. He one time showed up at Speed Weeks, and did burnouts up and down the strip, A1A, so he could get arrested. So he'd have a place to stay, because he said the hotels were too expensive.
Okay.
This is the type of character we're talking about right here. And that's an early stock car star.
Yeah, that's cool. Good stuff there. All right. Is there any more questions?
Yes.
All right.
Matthew, how did you
and
find
Cavalli's sitting there going, there's more damn questions? He goes, it's past his bedtime.
It is actually getting
How
there.
did you find footage of Uncle Sam Summers at Myrtle Beach?
Oh, that's a great one. Well, we had some great help from some people that we interviewed on the show. And, there's a lot of people that helped out with footage and photos from Dargan Watts. And it's just a bunch of people. I mean, we're racers, okay? And when we did these shows, it was amazing to me how many people came forward when we asked them if they had stuff, like Jack Walker in South Carolina, who just was like, I went down there and talked to him, sat on his couch, because he probably thought, who is this guy trying to get my photos?
Right.
And I went down there. I just wanted to meet him, because I'd seen his photos for years, and we got to like talking. And you want to talk about like great people that just come out and go, I want to help this project, because they're shining a light on something that's usually doesn't have sunlight on it.
Yeah.
And these people just open their lives to you. From the Phil Combs, here in North Carolina, and Charlie Craig's, and all the different people that open their collections and museums and collections. It's stunning,
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So, and I saw that Randall Fox had mentioned, what does Matthew think of the eNASCAR movement, especially with iRacing? Does he feel like there will be more to take the path of William Byron?
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it. There's a lot of racing stars that are coming from iRacing. I'll be honest with you. If I had iRacing when I was 15, 14, maybe there'd be a path for me.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe this gives a path to a kid that's a inner city urban youth that isn't exposed to the racetrack, that isn't raised at the racetrack like I was. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But he might be into gaming. He might think, man, this iRacing this thing's a real deal, and he can get himself. He doesn't need a rig. He can get himself the one that bolts onto the desk and try it.
Right.
That platform is insane. Like, I want to get it, and I don't want to get it because I want to stay married, because I'll probably get addicted. But, the platform's insane. And to answer his question, though, like, the William Byrons of the world, William Byron just didn't come in, iRacing and money and all this stuff. No, William Byron came in and he proved his talent at every single level he was at. He won races.
Yeah.
Judge him all you want. That kid can damn drive.
Yeah, for sure.
And he cut his teeth doing that stuff.
We saw him at Martinsville winning there. Hey, sorry, Phil, go ahead.
He's an Eagle Scout too.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, you think about it, because being in racing, you don't have the time to put towards your Eagle badge before you turn 18.
Yep.
But him being growing up, e-racing, he had that time. So
yeah, that's true because you'd be traveling up and down the road.
Yeah,
it's good.
But somebody brought up an important point to me one time. This is William Byron has never ridden in a team van to Talladega and back.
That's for sure. There's a lot of these kids that don't get those experiences, but
right.
Hey, it's a different time, man.
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah. Hey, so what about your shot collection?
Shot collection?
My shot collection.
Here.
I have a shot collection.
Well, I'm gonna have to just show you what. Did
I text you something like a talking point or something that I don't know about?
Yeah, this was something you had mentioned.
Well, I collect a lot of darn things, and I'll tell you that. So, yeah, I might have meant SHIT.
I was
because my wife
Tracy.
thinks half the stuff that I collect is that word.
Well, that makes sense.
But yeah, man,
that's what my wife would say.
Especially with the Lost Speedways thing, you start to collect more things.
Sure.
And as a kid, you start collecting things, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like collecting programs. And next thing you know, you got 12 damn boxes of stuff that you don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
Or stealing them from the end of the road.
Oh my God. Or you put them. Yeah, I'm not putting them to the end of the road. That's for sure. My wife wants to put them all.
Yeah.
But it's been cool because like some things now, actually, I just thought about this one. I remember sitting on the back of the old Burt Myers and Jason Myers trailer talking to Burt Myers, Walnut Cove, North Carolina modified driver, pretty famous in this region. And talking about the same thing, all these things we collected, like you found those programs, you collected them because you love them.
Yes.
And I remember like saying like, now I just got to collect the things that mean something to me and, just something special. So I don't know, I think it was a few weeks later, he bumped his way up to the front at Bowman Gray, knocking Junior Miller and a few other guys out of the way, and won the 100th race for the Myers family at Bowman Gray. And I went into the pit area to congratulate him afterwards, and he said, Dillner, go look in the back of the pickup truck. I unbolted it. I told the boys, that one's for Dillner. And I'm like, what? He's like, yep, you got the front bumper. And I'm like, so I got this great front bumper, iconic front bumper, Burt Myers. So now it's like the things that mean something to me. Like I got sent the Jim Dunn winning the Pennsboro race that we featured on our show. And like now this little newspaper, means so much to me because I've entrenched in the story and I've met the people, that have worked on the car,
Connect the dots.
And you connect the dots. And now this piece of paper means something to me.
It was a great story.
It's a beautiful, one of the most beautiful stories with a tragic end, unfortunately, but beautiful stories.
Cinderella story.
Oh my God. Like if you're a fan of sports in general, it doesn't even have to be a racing fan. The Jim Dunn story is one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard in racing. And now, because of being able to do the show, I feel forever kind of connected to the story, So now, like to have like a little piece
story to everybody, That's one thing that Dale Jr. has done for the sport is he's always going in the past and bringing that aware to the fans.
Exactly. And all the areas, not the common areas. Like everybody was like, hey, y'all doing North Wilkesboro, right? When we were in one of our first meetings, Dale said, no, I don't want to do North Wilkesboro. I want to do some of the places that people don't know about.
Exactly.
And I was like, I think that's so
what's
cool.
Lost.
That's what's so cool about him too.
Yep.
Is he's not just, do the thing that everybody does. He wants to do the stuff that nobody's doing. And that's cool.
Yep.
Do you think it's because with his dad being in racing that he wants to know where his dad's roots were?
A lot of that, that's a really good observation for our show, the Dale Jr. Download. Because in interviewing some of those people, I don't want to say it's therapy.
Right.
But there's a lot of his father that we've discovered that he doesn't know. He didn't have certain relationships with his father. Okay. And he's learning a lot about his own father through talking to other people.
Same here.
And that's really, and that's really.
Whenever we have someone on, they start talking about your grandfather because he worked at Holman and Moody. I used to ride my bicycle by Holman and Moody back when I grew up there, but her grandfather and her dad worked there, and she knew nothing about her grandfather.
So that discovery.
Yeah.
How did you first start to discover that?
Well, I mean, as far as me, I knew Dad was in racing, and David started doing a little bit of research for me, and he found some things in the background, and then aunts had pictures and photos and news clippings and things like that, just going back and tracing things. I had
Does
no
that make
idea.
you want to go even deeper and
Well,
deeper?
I had no idea Dad was who he was in racing. No clue.
That's cool.
You know, it was my dad.
Yeah.
So learning and hearing his stories from everybody else. Can't get him on the show. He won't come on the show, but we're still working on him.
Come on now.
It's like I said. You know, you're talking about that, and the greatest pride that I could ever have would be to have my dad build me my own car.
That's cool.
Because that's what he does.
That's cool.
And her mother was Earnhardt.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Ken?
No.
There's a big tree, so, you know.
No. My mom's side of the family was the Earnhardts.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say, Ken or Ken?
Ken. I was like wondering if it was kin to the Earnhardts.
Ken.
Yes.
David
Ken.
did some research on it, and he says yes, but
Yeah, I
how
connected
far, we
it.
don't know.
I connected it. There was a Philip Earhart. I think it was Philip, whatever, from another country. I can't remember
I
his
think
France or
that their
something.
name actually was that
Earhart.
before they came over here. Yeah.
And
Thank
he
you very
traced
much.
it back to Amelia Earhart as well.
Well, I said it could have been tied to Amelia.
No,
So-
you
Isn't
traced
that
it back
interesting?
that
Like Dale,
far.
I know Dale
Anyway.
went to Germany to do his heritage. He
Okay.
actually went to Germany with somebody that worked with us at Junior Motorsports, Martin Friedrich, and went to Germany to trace his roots. That's so interesting.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
grandfather's family actually came from Germany.
Wow. Okay.
So I took the Ralph Earnhardt lineage and connected it with her great grandfather. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, but then they lived over there in that area. Anyway, it could all be tied in some other. Scott Trevison says, "Does Matt have a really cool man cave?" And I think it's a new show you guys can do, NASCAR man caves. You can start with mine in Daytona. Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Start
Maybe
going
when
around.
I'm at that bachelor party
There you
in
go.
Daytona. I don't have a cool man cave. I don't have enough space. I've got a little home office. They pick on me at work because I've got a messy, cluttered, full of history office. So that's probably the closest thing I got to a man cave right now is my office in Dirty Mo Media, man. It's a little cluttered with some racing history.
Yeah, I need to do. Yeah,
I need a garage to do, something. I need to do something.
Dave's
I'll have
got
to
a
show
50 by
you.
60 garage.
Yeah, I'll have to show you my stuff.
Heck yeah, invite me over sometime.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Have
my
a beer.
uncle, yeah, definitely. My uncle said he didn't throw them all away. He had like 3 or 4 of each program, so he had to make room.
So he was throwing away duplicates.
He still has all of his Sam Bass stuff. So I feel a little better now.
Okay.
But
I feel a little better about him, and I still feel the same about you, which I'm thankful you saved him.
He said he still has all his Sam Bass stuff.
Cavallo, you got a man cave, brother?
I've got a third bedroom. That's my man cave, pretty much.
Yeah. With all your photos, I assume you'd have a wall of incredible photos.
Stuff.
Yeah. And
it's crazy. I need to just sell it all.
No.
And
don't sell it. Give it to a museum.
You know what? I told you I got a pair of Dave Marcus.
Give it to a
wingtips.
university.
Got a pair of wingtips of Marcus's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got Earnhardt helmet.
Go to a museum, or go bring it to a university research center.
Yeah.
So people don't just make money off your stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry to all those people that make money off photographs if I offended you.
Hey, you got to get it somehow, right?
Yeah, keep your photos.
Keep your lineage, because that's your heritage, man.
Yeah.
That's your legacy. You documented the sport for a long time, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that is your legacy.
80s,
your name will be
90s.
forever attached to those images.
My uncle had a picture. My uncle took a picture of Phil taking a picture of me doing a pit stop.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So I got that. Yeah.
I think I got
It's
a
up
fake
on
picture you took of me that you gave me years ago. I'm crouched down on the ground shooting a pit stop of Bobby Labonte's interstate batteries Pontiac at New Hampshire, and you gave it to me a long time ago, and I still got the print out of it.
Got a couple of you in Hudson too, didn't I?
Yeah. Forever thankful for that.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. All right, so
Are we going to let him have his more milk and go to bed, or what?
It's past Phil's bedtime.
I'm suffering from New Year's. I don't drink, and I had a bit to drink of, and I was
you did?
laid up today most of the day, still recovering.
I concocted a crock pot of Fireball and apple cider. That was pretty tasty.
I could see
Interesting.
that.
Nice and warm. Keep you warm.
Hot toddy.
Hot toddy, yeah, there you go. Who is this always doing the Fireball shots constantly? It's Kevin LePage.
Oh,
Yeah.
LePage is a Fireball guy.
Yeah, Fireball.
No way.
Yeah, I think it's every Sunday it's Fireball.
Fireball
or every weekend.
Sundays.
Yeah, that's it.
Hey.
Yeah. All right.
In honor of 22 there.
Yeah.
Fireball.
There you go. That's right, Fireball. All right. So thank y'all so much for tuning in, and thank you for coming up and hanging out with us.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks for letting me come hang out with you guys. I was looking forward to it, and now I'd love to come up here one day and just hang out with you guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we're welcome anytime.
Thanks, brother.
What are you doing next Monday?
Thank you.
So did the time fly by pretty good?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I just have fun. I mean, poor Phil fell asleep. I put him,
Yeah.
I lulled him like a lullaby to sleep. He almost fell asleep in the mullet. There, it's incredible.
That's
I didn't
right.
think
The
that was
mullet kept
possible.
me awake.
But, you know.
I leaned once and touched it.
It's soft.
Oh my goodness.
All right. There you
Good night.
go. All right. So good night, y'all.
Good night.
All right. So if y'all have any further questions after the show stops, you can go back on and you can read all these questions once again. And you can ask new questions.
Yeah, no politics next time.
I was waiting for Phil to get him fired up about something.
Yeah, that's what's boring is Matt can't get all triggered by politics.
Like, I could get triggered by a lot of things, but I've learned the art of this.
Exactly.
Just read a couple of these right quick. Cratchity, thanks for tuning in there. Will Cronkright. Craig Parrish says, great show. Scott Trevison is great show, everyone. And Matt Thomas says, great job, Matt and Phil.
Matt Thomas.
Yeah, so, and the rest of us. But anyway.
Yeah, heck
all
yeah.
right.
The boss. The boss lady should get the big round of applause.
Yeah,
Only
good job
estrogen
there.
in the room.
Oh, well, sometimes I have that. But
all right. Well, we'll see y'all next Monday evening. So in the meantime, keep checking out. I actually took last week's show and separated it into like 5 different videos. So I'm going to start putting those on, kind of like y'all do with the junior thing. So, but good night, Phil, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see y'all
at the Bat Cave,
and we'll see y'all next Monday evening. That's it. Good night.
Good night.
Chill, Billies.
That's it.
I'm running. I'm sick. I don't feel good.
Oh yeah.